You're on air. You're live on air now. I don't know why it's not working. It's not working. Well, that's okay because we still get monitored. So we're just continuing to verify properly. I know you verified it via email, but it all worked out. It's all, we live now, though. See? You sent them the link, right?
Yes, I sent everyone the link.
Okay.
It's better with the light on too. Yeah, that's better.
It is better with the light on.
Yeah.
Okay, so just move the ladder, y'all.
Just leave it on like that?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Oh, so they should have like a kid. I'm gonna pick back and say the Christian that I found. And see, more than one or online. That's probably what I'm thinking. I'm kind of like, okay. But definitely, you need to contact with you, and then you can tell me that, prices for the sections and stuff like that. Kind of like most homes are like, there's no problem going back. Yeah, I normally go to. See, we have a luxury of a lot of stuff. See, I like after the night, I'm going to the team spa. That's right there. Royal 935. It's in Korea time. Because they rolled out the building.
Y'all, this food is off the chain. Okay. Testing. Can you hear? All right, I see y'all. All 9 of y'all. It's 9.
They have one in
Okay, we just had intermission. And we was eating good.
Oh,
This is the friends who hooked it up.
Sky.
So,
That's Sky.
we about to get back started. So, okay.
Yeah.
And type your questions in the chat and I'll do my best to answer. But you can't see you, can you?
They will if I get over here. Okay.
I'm gonna be eating when you talking.
I'm out the way now. Okay. You see, I have to look on there with you. All right, we're gonna get back started. All right, we got the technical difficulties down.
And we done got food in our belly.
But please don't go to sleep on me yet. All right, we're talking about melanin. Melanin is a major component of that hydrogen-carbon connection, all right, which you'll see in a second here. But melanin is the most ancient and worldwide pigment in living organisms. The very thing that colors the bark on trees brown in the soil or earth. It dwells in your very essence. Of course, we understand that, overstand that. Well, here it is. This is a molecule. And the H is hydrogen, as you see here. And it's prevalent throughout the melanin molecule, as you see. All right, continue on. All right, so that melanin, well, what happens is that you talk about that band spectrum of visible light, that band of 7 colors. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, violet, purple. Or violet, which is purple, either white or either go, depending on which book you read. All right, but melanin recessive can only interact with small portions of the electromagnetic spectrum, while melanin dominated people, which is Africans, pure melanated persons, i.e. people of color, as they refer to as, can interact with the entire spectrum. The entire spectrum. All right, so here's another example of that. As you see, you look at the arc of light, and you're looking at solid, sound, electricity, heat, light, color, X-rays, ether, astral, mental, spiritual. These are all aspects of energy because we're actually is a template of what is called a phantom template. And what I mean by a phantom is that you have more bodies than just a physical body. You have your what? Your etheric body, your astral body, which is your emotional body, your mental body, your causal body, your spiritual body, and your soul body. All right? And your physical, which makes 7 bodies. So you are a multi-dimensional being. Multi-dimensional. So from the soul plane, you came to the spirit or higher etheric. Then you came down into what is referred to as the causal. Then from the causal into that. Okay, there we go. And then into the causal, down into, yeah, they want to see the screen too. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, and from the causal down into the astral, mental, and then down into the astral, which is the emotional, down into the etheric, and then down into the physical. That's how disease starts, is from that way of your auric field. Your auric field is the emission of your chakras. So there's an electromagnetic field or magnetic electric field around your physical body. Sometimes it's like in the shape of an egg. All right? Anyone who has ever did a Kirlian camera photography or have actually can see auras can show you or demonstrate the light in which that permeates around you. You have an outer auric field, you have a health auric field, and you have an inner auric field. The outer auric field is about 3 feet outside of you in perimeter. So let's say my arms is 3 feet. So if I did like this, all the way around me, that's as far as my auric span. The average person's auric span is only that far, is 3 feet. That's the average. Now, if there's certain meditations that you can do, one is called Pranic. Well, actually, it's one meditation, but it's 3 different breath techniques of that one meditation. It's called Pranic breathing. Pranic breathing. All right? One is called empty retention. When you simply breathe in, hold it for 1 second. Out, hold it for 1 second. All right, so that is called empty retention. But if you do 100 of those breaths, after the 100th count, guess what happens to your auric field? It expands now to 15 feet. So this is 3 feet. 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. Now, I'm right there, right behind my wife. Now the auric field is over here after that 100 breath. All right, so now anyone who comes into my auric field, if I'm thinking healing, what happens to them? They heal. Remember, that's what happened with Jesus, right? Remember the story? The woman issued blood for 12 years. She touched the hem of his garment. He looked around like, who touched me? Because he felt energy drained from him. But guess what? When you do these breath techniques, you ain't got to worry about the draining effect. All right? So that one particular breath, which is called empty retention, there's another one called 6-3-6-3. You breathe in for 6 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds. So and you do that one 100 times, the exact same thing happens. All right? Or if you do 7171, hold it for 1 count, which is 1 second, breathe out for 7 seconds, hold it for 1 second. Either one of those 3, whichever one you feel related to, if you do it 100 times, it expands your auric field 15 feet. So now you become more magnetized. Okay?
And these are great to do with your family, the people who are in your group, so y'all can connect together, so y'all can build together.
All right, so this is just a demonstration. As you see the auric field, and you see where it's permeating from, it's mostly from that spiritual, mental, astral, that etheric realm that we just finished talking about. Those phantom bodies, as they refer to as. And we're gonna show you actually a transmission of a phantom body. Continue on. All right, so the primary function of DNA is electromagnetic reception and transmission. Less than 10% of DNA function involves protein manufacture. All right, more than 90% functions in the realm of bioacoustics. What is bioacoustics? Bio means living, acoustic means sound. And then bioelectrical signaling. Dr. Lynn Horowitz. Melanin has its own DNA and its most important substance in the human body. Carbon atom links to form melanin, which has black hole properties, which are found in space. So you want to know how you're able to tap into commune with the ancestors, with extraterrestrials, as they say? Melanin. In physics, a black body is known to be a perfect absorber and perfect radiator of all forms of light and energy. The black energy radiation is at work in the electron, as shown by Nobel Peace winner Raymond Feynman. The electron is responsible for all chemical changes in matter. Once again, remember this, the electron, we spoke about the electron before. The electrons are responsible for all the chemical changes in matter. Why is it so important? Because the electrons survive death. So the same electrons that you leave here with is the same ones that return in what is called reincarnation or incarnation. Uh-oh. Did you get it? Did you hear what I just said? This is what is called the soul principle. Uh-oh, did we just tell you what the soul was? It's electrons. You see how easy this is? So the electrons is what leaves. So melanin may be viewed as a battery that is partially charged and can always accept an electrical charge. When sunlight or other energies come in contact with the melanin battery, it increases the charge of the battery to a certain degree. It is the primary determinant of what? Skin color, eye color, hair color, pigmentation layered with the iris of the eyes, the strata Aquarius of the inner ears. In the brain tissues, melanin includes the pineal gland, the medulla oblongata, the pigment-bearing neurons, which within areas of the brainstem called the locus coeruleus, or the substantia nigra, and etc. All right? So why is that important? Because with the expansion of your auric field, you create what is known as a Merkaba, a Merkabic field. The word Merkaba means, basically within the Bible, Hebrew terminology means flaming chariot of light. That's the Old Testament interpretation of the word Merkaba. When you read about Elijah being taken up into heaven, what was he on? A flaming chariot. That word flaming chariot is translated within Hebrew as Merkaba or Merkaba, which means counterfield of rotating light and what? Thought, which is bioacoustic also, which is also sound. All of this resonates because when you do the 18th, the 24th, the 28th breath technique developed by Joval Melchizedek, you actually will feel your body buzzing and humming. You actually begin to start hearing the humming in your ears. All right? This is called the Metatron cube. Who's Metatron? Metatron is another aspect of who we refer to as Melchizedek or the Archangel Michael. All right? So Metatron is who you will become. That is not some spooky stuff. We're talking about this right here, because carbon 12 is what is 666, which is your carbon present state that you're in. This is why the Bible speaks about in the book of Revelation, in Revelation, the 13th chapter, about you would know his wisdom, of the man. The number is 666. What is that number 666? We just said, oh, that's the mark of the beast. Oh, that's some old stuff. Oh, that's just going to happen in the last days. It's the mark of the beast. No, it's a little bit more complex than that. Because what it's talking about is that your identification with the physical body and just the earthly or material plane. That's a problem which that keeps you in this state. Now, however, if you transform carbon 12 into carbon 7, then things changes. Because carbon 7 is the equivalent to the Kundalini. Check this out. Carbon 7 is material equivalent of the Kundalini system, known as the Metatron cube. Like iron has the ability to sustain a magnetic field around it. Remember, we just talking about the field around you now. All right, your auric field. Carbon 7 has the uncanny ability to what? Carry hyperdimensional fields, such as fields of thought around it. Thus, it can amplify thought in other hyperdimensional fields. Copper and transformers can amplify magnetic fields. Naturally, it is found in the brain of spiritual adepts. All right? When they have an out-of-body experience or perform other supernatural phenomenon, such as biolocation or materialization, etc. During such times, the glow or halo that is formed around the heads of these highly evolved beings is actually due to the excess neutrons produced when carbon 12 transmutes to carbon 7 inside their brains, which is DMT, all right, which is dimethyl tryptophan. During the human birth experience, the brain is being saturated with DMT and pineal. These chemicals are secreted by the pineal gland, also known as the seat of the soul. When this chemical reaction happens, the brain is literally being awakened. In other words, your soul is being awakened. As one begins the human experience. So really, you're not even living yet until your soul becomes awakened within you. You're still searching. And since they have you searching for God outside, then that's going to be an forever, God forbidding, detrimental search. When the whole time God is within you. All right, so let's look at that. Look at this adapt. What you see around his head?
Halo.
That's that halo. And the word halo is taken from the word Heru. Now go back to the ancient Cymatics terminology. How is Heru spelled? H-E-R-U, right? How is that? What's the word halo spelled? H-A-L-O. Okay? What's the word helio spelled? Which is Latin. H-E-L-I-O-S. Helios. So the word helios, halo, and Heru is the same word which means sun. And that's what you see above the head of the adapt is the sun. Because he has enough DMT, pineal, in which that is functioning through the brain from the pineal gland, which is the awakened soul, to demonstrate that he's now in the image and after the likeness of his Father, who art in heaven, which is the sun itself. So he now has become the sun. When you see sperm under a microscope, that there's light in and around the head of the sperm. Well, hold on, goddammit, you was the one who came back as the Christ already. You got baptized in the river Jordan. Did you not know that? That's your third ventricle in your father's brain. The sperm comes up through from the scrotum sac, from the prostate fluid into the spinal fluid, into the cerebral fluid to get baptized by the soul, which is embedded inside of the father's pineal gland. And then it takes that soul principle back down to the scrotum sac to be pushed forward into the woman so life can be produced. And guess what? You beat out of 777,777,770 goddamn other cells in order to get here. You are the goddamn Christ.
Okay.
You are the Christ. You beat out 777 million other other souls, other beings to get here,
You the one.
you the one. That's what the Jet Li movie was talking about, the one. You wait. So right here, this is how DMT looks. What is it composed of again? What is that H? Uh-oh. Up here, what is that? Carbon and hydrogen. What is that? Carbon and hydrogen. This is what this is. It's hydrogen. It's always hydrogen is part of that. Why? Because hydrogen is the #1 element on the periodical chart. That is equivalent to the 99 attributes of Allah when you start chanting El-Rahmanu, El-Rahmanu, El-Rahim, El-Rahman, El-Rahman, Rahman, Rahman is equivalent to hydrogen. I continue on. So matter is essentially cymatics in the structure of space itself. All right, so what we call space is not really empty. Right here, no point is more central than this, that the empty space is not empty. It is the seat of the most violent physics. But they don't tell you that. They just tell you it's empty space. 99.9999% of your atomic structure is empty space. Well, it is. But 0.00001% is only apparent solid, man.
And the rest is junk.
And the rest is just empty space. No, it's the most violent physics. All right, John Archibald Wheeler. Because what we found out that only 1% of all we know is matter. So what's the other 99%?
Light.
Is that dark matter that we just talked about. Aether, black energy. That's the other 99% of the universe. 1% is only referred to here as matter, or what we refer to as this type of matter nowadays. So here we're talking about cymatics. Remember, if you take sand particles and you put on a plate and you put a sound or some type of speaker next to it, what will happen to that sand on that plate? It will actually form a geometrical shape based on the frequencies coming from the sound. Y'all know that? Take a steel pan and put sand on it or salt particles on it. So just take some salt and sprinkle on that thing and play the damn system as loud as you can. And watch what happens. It will form geometrical shapes. Geometrical shapes is these type of shapes right here. 5-pointed star configuration, 6-pointed star configuration, mostly like what we refer to nowadays as snowflake type of form, but it has all types of forms here. All right, this is how we know that life came into existence from sound. And this is what the ancient is talking about from the Vedic text. All right, continue on. So right here, we got a good example. We talked about the auric field. Well, within the auric field, we got from the wormhole to the 4 levels of genome DNA molecules. Well, hold on. What is the 4 levels of the genome DNA molecule? Well, guess what? We have the tetragrammaton. What is the tetragrammaton? It is what? Yahi-Vahi. Yahi-Vahi. What is Yahi-Vahi? That is the divine name of God, which the reason why the vowels on that added is because it was sacred. They took the name Adonai or Adonai and took those vowels from there and placed it in the center or in between of the Y, H, W, or V, H, and put those vowels in between it. And then that become what? Yahweh. Who is Yahweh? Right. Yahweh means life. Do you know that was Eve's name in Hebrew? Her name is Hawa. Her name is Hawa. So Yahweh and Hawa. We'll get to it in a second. But there's 4 elements, four genome, 4 levels. All right. Let's go to those 4 levels. Right here, you have how the sequence of life took place, how this energy was brought into manifestation from out of the dark realms, as we refer to them, the triple stage darkness. All right, remember the same process of the woman, 3 trimester periods of the womb of life. Remember, inside of the womb, the child goes from a what? in amoeba state to a what?
Zygote.
To zygote state to a what? A fetus state. 3 process, right? Amoeba, zygote, fetus, right? All of us went through that process. Produce a different veil of energy, or what is referred to in the image and after the likeness of triple stage darkness that the Quran spoke about, all right? And also, the Nation of Gods and Earth speaks about it, of the triple stage darkness. The Nation of Islam speaks about it, all right? So if you go to any of these schools or been through these schools, they all speak about the same thing. Why is that so important? Because it represents the first 3, first of the 3 trimester periods of the woman. The first 3 months, the second 3 months, the third 3 months, all right? And then forth, the child comes to the light. So the child was in darkness, in triple veil darkness for 3 months, and then 3 months, and then comes to light, comes out of the womb, comes from out of the darkness into the light. This is the same thing. Think of the universe in the exact same scheme. And you can see how life comes into being in the exact same way. Because remember, the brother said, what was the second correspondence? What was, I just gave it up. The second principle of Tahuti was correspondence, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. You see? So right there, that shows you that the correlation is perfect. So if we look at the universe, we look at nature, then we know exactly how things took place. Because we already see the template is playing out before our very eyes. All right? So, as you see here, you can't read it, but I'll read what I can. It says, during the Jupiter effect, it said Earth retains information. Oh, you got it?
Produces waves of disharmony due to GRG, or cosmic chi, or the Kundalini effect, is amplified by Jupiter's energy between the planets and the sun. Now, unfortunately, the chi is disturbed and sent out of balance as it passes by through the earth.
Why is that?
This disturbance is amplified as it moves towards the sun.
All right, so Jupiter is the planet of benevolence based in astrology. The planet of benevolence is the planet in which that produces or gives forth gifts. But when the energy comes, the sun sends forth energy, Jupiter sends back energy. The earth disrupts the energy going and coming. Why is that? Because there's so much negative, right? There's so much negative energy around the planet Earth. It is becoming encased with psychic debris, or what is called bioplasmic negative energy. All right? It has become encased. Your very thoughts, negative thought forms have encased the planet Earth in this negative energy. And so what happened is that now the sun has to cast forth rays in order to adjust the energy level of the planet. That's what is called solar flare activity. Who heard of solar flares? Who heard of coronal mass ejections, CMEs? This is what is taking place. Because the sun said, yo, they acting up again. Yo, throw some of that shit. So the sun is throwing energy at us like, yo, change your frequency. I'm gonna wake you up one way or another, change it. So we get bombarded by frequencies from the sun. And people are saying, well, you know, that's coronal mass ejections, that's the greenhouse effect, oh, that's global warming, or they got a lot of names for it, but it doesn't go. But so far, what is going on is that the sun is bombarding the planet Earth. That's it. All right, because the sun is trying to correct the negativity that's on the planet. And what people don't know is that when the sun bombards the planet Earth with this frequency, it changes your DNA. So more and more people are becoming woken. And this is what is really talked about the age of Aquarius that we are in. Age of Aquarius is not just in conjunction with just this constellation of Aquarius, it's in conjunction with the fact of the energy that is coming down, in particular from the sun, is bombarding the planet Earth in order to change the frequencies of the planet. Of course, who is Heru? Because Heru is what we refer to in the Cymatics teachings as being Aquarius. That's who Heru is. symbolizes what animal? Right, the hawk, right? Symbolizes the hawk, right? All right. You think it's just a coincidence that they have the hawk or the falcon on these Marvel comic movies all of a sudden, and he's a brother? They show you that the age of Aquarius has been brought into play.
Right.
All right. If you go to Luke 22:10, Luke 22:10 tells you that Jesus was asked by his disciples, what will befall us in the last days? And Jesus says, follow the man with the pitcher of water into his house. Who's the man with the pitcher of water? It's Aquarius. Right. So Jesus was telling them, look, I symbolize this Pisces. That's why I told Andrew and Peter, to be fishermen of men. You remember that story? All right. Because Andrew and Peter symbolizes what? Pisces, the two fish, swimming in different directions. All right. So Jesus said, I'm gonna make you fishermen of men. Why do you think Christians put the fish symbol on the back of the car? Because that's the age of Pisces. And that's where they still stuck at. Right, and Pisces symbolizes the belief, better yet, the mantra of I believe. Aquarius symbolizes the mantra of I know. There's a difference in knowing a thing and believing a thing. Right, even faith is the substance of things not yet hoped for, and the evidence of things yet not seen. You still got to have evidence even for faith. And Christians always quote that, and I'm like, did you see the word evidence in there? What is your evidence? The substance of things hoped for. Yeah, it's the substance of things yet hoped for, but yet is the evidence of things yet not seen. Well, give me the evidence. If I can't see it, prove to me. You see? So this is the nonsense that's going on. Continue on, please. This is a book, Renaissance Intelligence. This is by Grazer, Forster, and Franz Rudolph. All right, it says the latest research evidence phenomena such as clairvoyance, intuition, spontaneous and remote acts of healing, self-healing, affirmation techniques, unusual light auras, which is orbs, around people, namely spiritual masters, mind influences on weather patterns, and much more. It says the Russian scientists also found out that our DNA can cause disruptive patterns in the vacuum. Vacuum of what? Vacuum of space. In other words, in the ethers. Your thought can disrupt the patterns in ether. You can shake it up. I need some of that. And then that's how you manifest what you want into existence, by shaking up the ethers. Right here. Thus producing magnetized what? Your mind, your brain uses your mind in order to open pathways so things can come forth for you. This is what the prosperity preachers are talking about. Creep low with your dollar. TD snakes. This is what they're talking about. Yeah. Forget all of them. They ain't got jack on Reverend Knight. Reverend Knight was the man. I'm seriously, because Reverend Knight told you, yo, you made in God's image. Your divine mind is what caused all this to come into existence and go out of existence if you choose to. It depends on what you want to do. Now, what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? That's Reverend Knight. I'm telling you, go watch up in the video. You see what I'm talking about? He wasn't playing. So wormholes are microscopic equivalents of the so-called Einstein-Rosen bridges in the vicinity of black holes. In other words, left out stars. You use burnout stars? That's deep. Your consciousness, your brain, your mind can use burnt out stars as pathways into other realms of consciousness, other density levels, other dimensions. Why is that? Let's find out. Hold on. Let me finish reading. These are tunnels connection between entirely different areas in the universe. Different areas in the universe. Why? Because Based on the 5% teachings, the nation, gods, and earth, guess what? The universe is 76 quintillion miles in diameter. Your brain spans the whole gambit of the universe. Why? Because your brain, via your mind, is the universe in miniature form. Uh-oh. Continue on. Watch this. Hold on, go back. Go back. Let me watch. Right here. These are tunnel connections between entirely different areas in the universe, from which information can be transmitted outside of time, of space, and time. The DNA attracts these bits of information and passes them out to our consciousness. Where we are seeing this is hypercommunication, where information is passed interdimensionally. It is as though the DNA acts as a stargate between these dimensions and others. DNA is but a giant molecule, and a molecule of many atoms joined together. Continue on. So right here, they say our brain is actually a collection of what? Universes. At the end of the previous universe, our ancestors expanded their mind beyond measure until it encompassed their whole universe, which is 76 quintillion miles in diameter. This process of expansion caused an apparent contraction of the universe until it was reduced to a size of a single planet, hence what they call the Big Bang, coming from a single atom. The universe was not reduced in reality, it just appears so. But when the mind is expanded, it appears as if the universe is contracted. Why? Because your brain or mind, via your mind, is getting larger. The apparent contraction of the universe was not followed by a Big Bang per se, or any other kind of explosion. It was followed by a condensation process, which part of the expanded mind condensed in stages in the empty space surrounding the new Earth, creating 7 substances that he spoke about earlier: magnetism, electricity, light, heat, which eventually formed the new stars after many trillions of years. So that's how stars are formed. Remember, we just spoke about stars, how you are able to communicate into other dimensions and other universes is through what? Burnt out stars. Let's see why. So now since space itself is a substance and PRANA, the filler of space, all right, which is what he's talking about, that is the most violent physics, is actually PRANA. Space and time, at the same time, they occupy the very space. So stars are the condensation of the mind of our ancestors who came from previous universe. Stars are condensation of mind of our ancestors who came from the previous universe. You don't believe me? Why every time you watch a movie, a child's movie in particular, like who watched Lion King? What happened to Mufasa, who was the father of Simba? He died and he became what? A star in the sky? Why do all indigenous people around the world believe that? Go to Australia and ask the Aborigines what happened to us after death. You become a star. Go to Africa and sit amongst the shamans and ask them what? Ask Credo Mutua what happened to us. Come here to the Native Americans and ask them what happens to us. We become a star. Why they say that? Remember, they increase their own mind by expansion, which simultaneously caused the creation to increase as well. This is how God has increased itself in creation to make itself eternity. The universe is eternal and infinite, creating and recycling back into itself, similar to how the image of the metosphere or magnetosphere works, right? The universe is a circle that has no beginning, no end, constantly emitting material and life and constantly recycling it. This is what you see with the Aurora Boreas, which is the serpent biting its tail, that circle. That is a continuation of it. All right? Continue on. All right. So continue on, coming back. Continue. All right. So continue on. Come back. All right, so about this star. Well, right here in your Bible, in the book of Psalms, the 11th chapter, it says, for the Lord God is a what? Is a sun. and shield. The Lord would give grace and glory. He withhold from them that walk uprightly. Psalms 84:11. That's deep. So the Lord is the sun. Oh, there he is. How many times have you seen that picture? What is around his head? Remember, I showed you the at depth with the halo around the head. Now they give you the picture of white Jesus with the halo around the head, which damn near is an impossibility. It's how, you know. But it's taken from Ra. This is Ra here on the left hand side, on the right hand side. Left hand to you in the audience. Right hand side here, and that's Ra, and he has the sun on top of his head with the Aurora Boreas, which is the serpent in the circle, which symbolizes eternity. All right, and you see white Jesus here, you know, doing his good thing. Continue on. So we know that the sun rays come down to the planet Earth, bombard the planet. You see right here, absorbed by the surface. So what reflects the sun is clouds, atmosphere. All right, some of it is reflected by the surface. If you're outside, you get a chance in order to get all of that energy yourself, especially if you practice Qigong or Tai Chi on a daily basis. You get this energy as it comes down. So it's not just being reflected by the surface, you are absorbing it as a melanated being. And the reason why what is the sun itself? Isn't the sun a star? I'm gonna show you, let's continue on. So here's the solar activity and its effect on the Earth. Particles go to the poles and collide with the atmosphere called the polar lights. Here it is, the sun, solar flare activity and eruptions, billions of tons of super hot gas containing charged particles. What tons of that going to? It's going through the Earth and through the other planets in the system. But what's the effects? The effects is what? A satellite microchips damage power grid eruptions and radio interferences. In other words, your cell phones will have problems. Your phones will have problems. Cordless phones will have problems. Continue on. So, right here, the sun's recorded breaking sleep ended in 2010. It just ended, y'all. We are now in cycle 24, heading for a peak of solar. Look at it now. Solar maximum in a year is what? 2012 through 2016. What year you in? And you wonder why it's still warm, right? So here, when it arrived, the peak of the 11-year cycle will begin more what? Solar flares, CMEs, and geomagnetic storms. All right? Everybody know who former Governor Jesse Ventura from Conspiracy Theory. He said it echoes a grave warning to the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, which is NASA, which is formed after the Nazis in the 1950s, actually the 1940s into the 1950s. Right here, the National Academy of Science, Navy, says record level solar flares and coronal mass ejections will soon destroy the world's power grids, and consequently all broadcasting on transmitters and suddenly go dead, very likely within a matter of months. This is what they've speculated. All right, and all radios and TV receivers will also go dead, suddenly and unexpectedly. Only those broadcast transmitters and receivers that have independent power supplies will operate. Right, in other words, more transmission, radios, shortwave radios, and those types of things. So, continue on. Oh, go back one quick. All right, so as you notice, you have a north and south pole. This is what this is right here. This is your energy field, as we just spoke about, your auric field. These lines symbolizes your energy or ley lines within your auric field, and the transmission is coming through the north and south pole. The top of your head and the perineum, which is in between the genital areas for the males and the females. Continue on. All right, as you see here, electromagnetic energy, full spectrum of energy assimilation. You see direct cosmic energy come down, sunlight, breath, cosmic energy, all this affects you on a daily basis. Continue on. So melanin in the eye receives light and converts it into electrical energy that comes across as an image. The sun B rays carries vitamin D, and our body's photosynthesis nutrition or nutrients from the sunlight, just like plants, excuse me. So right here, it tells you that you absorb the rays of the sun in photosynthesis just like plants do. That's what melanin is. Matter of fact, there's only difference between green chlorophyll and brown or black melanin is only one molecule, which is called the magnesium molecule. That's the only difference. It's a magnesium molecule. Other than that, they're identical. Plants have at the center of their blood cells magnesium. You have iron. That's the only difference. That's it. Example. My wife just said it. We're rusted. But at one time we was tilt brain. And now we're rusting in water. Uh-oh. It what? It oxidates. That's the reason why you have to take in more what? Hydrogen. God damn it. I told you this. A+ student right here. A+ student. That's what I'm talking about. So the more you take in hydrogen, it kind of acts the oxygen, right? Where it has the ability in order to what? Oxidize you, which cause what? Aging effects. So the more hydrogen, which is prana, that you can take in, the more you stay healthy. The longer you stay healthy, the more you become, well, longevity, put it that way. All right? So people be wondering how these monks, live to be 115 years old, still walking around with, with no problems. They riding bikes, or Africans riding bikes up mountains and stuff at 96. Which I know a brother who his great grandfather was like 96 or either 98 years old, still riding bikes up hills. Try that after you get 21. Let's alone 98, 96 or 98, right? It says making exposure to the sun vital to our health. Recent studies suggest that nearly 70% of the said African Americans are vitamin D deficient. Why? Why are we 70% deficient? Because melanin makes the synthesis of vitamin D from sun exposure harder, particularly for Euro-melanated people. So while the news and doctors are saying 15 to 30 minutes of the sun each day is sufficient for vitamin D absorption, that's not true for you. You need at least 1 to 3 hours a day. In particular, at least one. Remember, we spoke about earlier that the sun rays 93 million miles away touch down to Earth every 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So 8 minutes and 20 seconds times 7, and what you come up to? Somebody write that out for me. Someone who's a good mathematician up there. How many? Right. Basically about 56 minutes. Well, 57.40. Right. So 57 minutes and 40 seconds. So what that means is that if you have 7 chakras, it would take the sun, for you to be out in the sun, at least almost an hour in order to rejuvenate yourself with sunlight, your 7 chakras. Okay. Now, what if you were developing more chakras? Like Dr. Deborah Blitz talked about. Like, for example, Dr. York spoke about that people have barytheric glands, which is right up under the chin area here. Dr. Deborah Blitz spoke about a mound inside of the mouth. These are extra glands. So that's about 9 glands now, 9 endocrine glands. These are 9 chakra system now. You done move from 7 chakras to 9 chakras, and in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter says you will eventually have 12. So we're growing in chakras. The more that this sunlight hits us, the more our DNA is waking up in order to transmute us back into a higher form of consciousness. All right, this is what this is about. All right, and your eyes helps with that. UVA rays are highest during midday, so morning and evening sun is best for vitamin D synthesis and avoidance of cancer-causing free radicals. We keep that in mind. So when you go out in the morning, around 8 o'clock in the morning, and you look at the sun, you can actually absorb the rays of the sun through what is referred to as what? Sungazing. Exactly. Make sure your shoes are off. Right, make sure your shoes are off. You are touching the ground, or either if you keep your socks on, that's cotton. Something in which that is natural. And you will absorb the rays of the sun. All right. In the evening time, of course, now being that it gets dark earlier, we would say around 6:30, going into 7 o'clock now. All right. So these are the best times for the sun salutation. All right, which is called sun gazing. All right. Muslims refer to it as salat. They wake up in the morning, they make fajr. First prayer, right? So this is all basically the same thing, even though they don't want to say that, oh, you know, we don't acknowledge the sun. No, you have to acknowledge the sun because that is the giver of life on this planet. Not the giver of your spiritual life, but the giver of physical life. And for you to be spiritual, you have to have a physical body for a certain time. So you have to keep that in order. You can't have one without the other. Remember, as above, so below. Oh, here we go. See. I see you. Avatar, you know what I'm saying? Because he talked about Superman, and guess what I get? Superman. So right here, NASA confirms the superhuman abilities gained through what? Sun gazing. Sun is a star. And I'm gonna get to the reason why all this star information is important, because not only do the sun or stars have an influence on the physical body and on the planet Earth, but it has another correlation which we'll get into. Sun, for ordinary humans, what did it say? Staring at the sun would cause blindness. What else he said? Go ahead. But since the sun's yellow rays, what did it say? Give me my vision powers, all his powers. He said, this should be equivalent to an eye drops. So how come Superman? Remember, his name is Kal. The ones I know got the last name El or either Bey. And his name just happened to be Kal, or even Hebrews, Israel, Raphael, Mikael. The El name is probably because it means God or the power or force in Hebrew. But his name just happened to be Kal. Right? Kal. That's deep. You know? All right, so right here, we find in this article that many proponents of this ancient technique used by many cultures, such as the Mayan, the Aztecs, the Tibetans, and Indian yoga, reports not only healing benefits of this common illnesses, but obtaining superhuman abilities such as advanced telepathy and going completely without the need for food. Sun gazing, which is sun eating the sun, you're eating the sun, you're eating the star. You're eating stars now. Also called HRM phenomenon, coined by Hararatin Manak. A NASA team of medical doctors at the University of Pennsylvania observed Hara 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 100 days, and confirmed that he was indeed able to survive largely on life, milk or water. It must be done within the hours after sunrise or before sunset to avoid damage in the eyes. The UVA rays are highest during midday, so morning and evening sun is best, as we said before. So, second, you must be barefooted and contact with the actual earth. And finally, you must be 10 seconds the first day, increasing by 10 seconds intervals each day you practice. Following these rules will make the practice safe. During your first 3 months of practice, the sun's energy is moving through the eyes and charging the hypothalamus tract, rear of the retina, which leads to the brain. The brain then, over time, becomes activated by the energy supplies being received by the sun. By the end of the 3rd month, the gazing time will have increased to 15 minutes a day. Bad qualities like mental tension, worry, anger, fear, jealousy, lust appear and be replaced by a certain confidence and ability to easily solve your problems and spiritual knowing. This is about the age of knowing. This is about the age of Aquarius. When you get into the knowing aspect. And I'm just showing you a way to know. So right here, it says the senses more purely the heart of an issue. Following these rules make the practice safe. During the first 3 months of practice, the sun's energy is moving through the eyes and charging the hypothalamus tract. Well, we're gonna reset this. So right here, let's come down. It's recommended during the 3 months period that you use auto-suggestion. Right? That's what Muslims are doing when they dicker. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam. Ya Qudus, Ya Qudus, Ya Qudus. That's what they're doing. They're doing auto-suggestion. They'll be coming to words that they're pronouncing. Same thing within Buddhism. Or no, within Hinduism. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Saying what? That I'm the jewel in the lotus. The lotus is what? The 1,000 petals at the crown chakra. And I'm the jewel in the lotus. The jewel is the pineal gland, symbolizes the springing forth, the growth, the blossoming of the pineal gland, the opening of the awakening of the pineal gland, which is the divine soul. So Om Mani Padme Hum. Or in Buddhism, Nam Yo Horengeki Yo, 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 Nam Yo Horengeki Yo. That's deep. Everybody got their own form of chant. The ancient Egyptians did Nu Puk Nu, Nu Puk Nu, Nu Puk Nu, Nu Puk Nu. I am that which that I am. Hebrews say Ea Asher Ea. Ea Asher Ea. I am that which that I am. They'll chant that. Okay? Or El Shaddai. Or some other of the 12 names, divine names of God or Yahweh. All right? So this is all connected. Right? It's not what you do, it's the sound effects in which that you have while doing it. Right? And I'll get to the sound effects in a second. So right here, it's recommended the first 3-4 months that you use auto-suggestion to see your body already healed and already perceived where weakness and disease was, that is no more. At 3 to 6 months of gazing, the study shows that physical diseases start to disappear. Sun gazing 30 minutes a day. All the colors of the sun will have reached the brain. He showed you the book. Brother Jamal showed you the book of color therapy. Here it is. Color therapists attributes their healing of certain diseases to flooding the body and brain with a particular color that is lacking, depending on the ailment. For example, in liver disease, the color green is deficient. The kidneys need red. The heart, yellow. All of the organs or all of the systems are said to respond to different colors of the rainbow, which is why it is also recommended to eat a diet rich in various variety of colors. As we showed you earlier about the colors of the chakras. We showed you each food, fruits and vegetables that correlates to it. After 6 months, the energy stored from the technique is no longer used for repairing the body or the mind. It can move now into supporting what? Perceptions now, your higher extra perceptions. So after 9 months of practice, you lose the need of food and need only walk barefoot on the earth for 45 minutes a day. 6 days in a row for activation or activate the pineal gland. Scientists say that each toe is connected to a specific gland. And by walking barefoot on the earth, you activate these glands. The big toe is thought to be aligned with the second toe, the pituitary gland. The third toe, the hypothalamus gland, and finally the pinky toe, corresponding to the amygdala glands. So walking barefoot with the sun now floating on the top of your head, practitioners claim to create a sort of super magnetic field in and around your body that recharges you in your brain, which much more thoroughly. So this is no joke. Here it is. This is from the book, Flares, Cosmic Rays, Shifting Human Consciousness. May 30th, 2013, by Gillian. It says, as many know, we are getting bombarded by gamma ray bursts, solar flares, cosmic rays, and other magnetic influences due to the alignment with galactic planes. Many are observing the unprecedented increase in earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, along with severe weather. What we are not seeing is how these energies affect human consciousness. So let's see how they affect human consciousness. The doctor, Dr. Poop, the human organism is not only a carnivorous or vegetarian being, but also a consumer of what? Light. In fact, it behaves like a what? Lumivarious creature. What's lumivarious creatures? Name me some. Fireflies, eels. Come on. Anybody know any others? But y'all get the drift, right? Yeah. So what happened with a lightning bug or a firefly? How's it able to light up?
When they create the energy
inside. Right. The energy that they produce inside is called luciferase or luciferin, which transfers to luciferin. The word Lucifer, because that's the light bearer. But that's what they said is the chemical within fireflies or lightning bugs. Well, guess what happens? The lightning bug is able to store, now think about 100. 90% of the energy is produced in the body and only 10 is released as heat. You, on the other hand, is exactly the reverse. You release 90% of the energy from the top of your head and only 10% do you keep in order to transmit as light. This is why we're so dim on planet Earth. I'm gonna say that again. Did everybody get what I just said? 90%, the lightning bug is able to store heat in the body and transform it to light. And only 10% is released from its head as heat. You, on the other hand, keep 10% as light and release 90% as heat from the top of your head. Is everybody clear on that? What that means is that you're losing too much energy as heat, when you can keep that energy inside of your physical body and use it as light, hence to strengthen your auric field. So what happens? This is what happens. It says right here, in fact, it behaves like a lumivarious creature. In other words, earlier on in our earthly development, we were light vampires. Light vampires. We was able to absorb energy from the sun. This is why they refer to us as sun worshipers. That everything you do, oh, that's pagan. Well, yeah, you can't do what I do anyway. I'm the one with, with an abundant amount of melanin. I'm supposed to be sun worshiping around here. You can't. So I see why you have to take precautions. But I have uromelanin, and uromelanin need me to be in the sun for at least an hour to 3 hours a day. You can only take 15 to 20 to 30 minutes, the most. So I do. You see? So this is the necessity. So right here we find that if we are light vampires, then what we need to be absorbing is more light. All right? Continue on. So in Mantai Chia's book, The Awakening Healing Through the Tao, he shows you the universal force, nurtures soul, spirit, and chi. It comes down, top of the crown of the head, which is the upper dantian. The essence, which is the breath itself, goes into the mid dantian, which is symbolic to the soul. The cosmic forces higher self nurtures the mind and organs. It goes down to the lower dantian, which is the chin or the body, in which that receive energy up from the souls of the chakras from the feet. The earth force nurtures the yin, soul, spirit, and physical body. So we are receiving, always receiving. Our body is an antenna for this magnetic electric energy, or as they say, electrical magnetic energy. Continue on. Right? Okay, this is what I already broke down about the sun. Continue on. So, as you see here, you see the old Superman, Christopher Reeves, you see the new dude. All right? The blue done turned real dark. All right? You can't see that well, but that blue is damn near black now. All right?
I did that too.
Right, exactly. All right, so you got to remember that. So went from this type of blue to now this type of blue. All right, let's go to it. The old version of Superman, light blue and red tights, while the new Superman version, blue to black suit tights, and in blue-black, the hue of melanin. Thus, the man still symbolizes a Moor. Why? Because his name is Kyle. The Moor are Hebrew Israelites. All right, use the title as a surname. Melanated infant sits, crawls, walks sooner than Albion, said whites, and demonstrate more advanced cognitive skills than their albino counterparts because of their abundance of melanin. Carol Barnes writes that your mental process, brain power, is controlled by the same chemicals that give black humans their superior physical, athletic, rhythmic dancing ability. This chemical is melanin. The abundance of melanin in dark humans produce a superior organism both mentally and physically. Black infants, like you said, the skills are much more advanced, but melanin is a neurochemical basis for what is known or called the soul. Right? This is how easy it is. We say that the soul, right, the melanin is the physical counterpart to the spiritual soul. Melanin is the physical counterpart to the spiritual soul. Right? That's how simple that is. Continue on. So here we have the man of steel, and he's standing directly in front of the sun, just like we showed you with Ra, with the sun on his head, just like Jesus with the sun around his head, claiming that he's an adept. Watch this. What happens? Go to Wikipedia. Check this out. The living solar battery. Look what it says. Superman powers relies on his cells' ability to absorb and metabolize solar energy from local stars. Like the Earth's sun, his Krypton body is a living solar battery. Isn't yours? That absorbs solar energy and converts them to fuel for his powers. His cells also store yellow sun energy as he can use his powers on the object at night in dark places and in space. All right? Right here, yellow stars are said to emit ultra solar rays which enable Kryptonians superpowers penetrating the Earth itself. And said rays also enable Kryptonians to stay superpowered at night. The more yellow sun rays Superman absorbs, the stronger he gets. But you, oh no, you don't need to be in the sun no more than 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day. For real? Yeah.
That's dumb.
The more yellow rays Superman absorbs, the stronger he gets. In some instances, he has been shown to enter suns in order to increase his powers to their highest potentiality. As such, in 1998, DC Millions storyline, Superman can also absorb solar energy of other class stars, such as when he absorbs the solar energy of a blue sun to increase his abilities to a higher degree and give him additional abilities. Now come down, look at healing factor. Superman is shown to possess remarkable recuperative powers that allows him to quickly heal from wounds. making him immune to all forms of human and earthly diseases. What gave him the ability in order to do that? The sun. Yeah.
How many of us are getting enough sun daily?
How many of y'all using what is it? CF 35 suntan lotion. SF, yeah, SF suntan black lotion. How many are using that? Oh, okay. All right. So right here, illnesses, viruses, and toxins. So the sun made him be able to heal from all these things. The same things in which that we worried about, the sun helps you get past that. All right, why? Why is that possible? Well, guess what? Now it's time for the surprise. Guess what scientists know? 90% of your body mass is in fact what? Oh, snap! Oh, wait. What did they just find out? 90% of your body mass is in fact stardust, because all the elements except for hydrogen, that's why you have to do Qigong and Tai Chi and do breathing exercises, and those before you can absorb more hydrogen, is what? And helium are created in stars. So guess what? To get you into supernova mode, like Superman, supernova mode, you need more hydrogen, or you can expand more. You see that? Because 90% of your body is stardust. You are a walking star. You're a walking star. Did they tell you that? This is in quantum physics now. So right here it says the more common elements in intelligent beings is hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, universe, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, helium. Oh, there are hundreds of billions of galaxies in the known universe, as we went over, right? Each contains hundreds of billions of stars. Intelligence only happens once. Well, we don't know about the once, but we know that it happens. Right? So right here, this is very interesting Bible verse, as it states that you were bought at a price. Remember that verse that we went over? 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit which is in you, whom you have from God, and you were not your own, for you were bought at a price? What price is this that they're talking about? Now, if your body is 90% stardust material, what price bring that physical body into existence? 90% stardust material. You are basically a walking star. What you think had to have happened? Remember, you always believe that something died for you in order to give you everlasting life. He was in Christianity. Stop that mess. You know what happened. You just thought it was a white man at the time. That's all. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which is God. So what price? Christians believe that the verse refers to Jesus died on the cross for you. However, a metaphysician, we understand that stars died for you, so that you may live. As previously mentioned, for a star to be born, there is one thing that must happen. A gaseous nebula must collapse. So collapse, crumble. This is your death. This is not your destruction. This is your birth. Watch. Think those dead stars. Without them, you wouldn't be here. The calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood were all cooked up in stars that died billions of years ago. So when we say that you're an old soul, we ain't playing. We talking about for real. You're an old soul. We ain't just playing now. We talking about billions of years ago. You're an old joker. Some of you up in here might be billions and trillions of years old up in here. Some of y'all might, as Elijah Muhammad said, some of y'all got a 76 trillion year cream essence up in here. But check this out. So if you're 90% stardust particles, stardust energy being, why is it that 300,000 tons of stardust energy particles fall to the earth daily? Now, if you're already 90%, what is you supposed to do with this other excessive stardust energy that's falling to the planet Earth? Do you think it's supposed to get you up to 100? What do you think? I mean, I'm just speculating. You don't think that makes sense? Additional energy would be helpful on a planet that's trying to kill you? And then the planet itself, I'm talking the beings on this planet. The ones who refer to as useless eaters, the said Illuminati, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, George Soros, Bill Gates, and many others. Well, go back right quick, please. Right here, so right here, look. A human cell contains 20 billion exponential bits of information. Therefore, a human originally was created with body cells capable of consuming and absorbing 90% of the cosmic forces and light to which they were exposed. Because you are already 90%. Been absorbing this energy already. However, our cells begin to deteriorate to 10% absorption. Why? Because you ain't been practicing your techniques of consumption and absorption when we begin to expend and lose our sexual energy. Brother, we're talking about Tantra Kriya Yoga. Well, guess what? In Tantra Yoga, guess what happens? If the brother releases his fluids, that is actually Stardust particles that he's releasing in order to go into formation. So he's actually losing a portion of himself in order to go into the creation of another divine being, such as him and herself. See, you understand that the male is the who determines the sex, but that's of only the male species. The woman actually at one time had the ability to be a virgin birth. She was able to have children without the male. All right? But she always reproduced herself, which was more females. So that happened on this planet for at least 150,000 years before the male species even came into existence. Guess what brought the male species into existence? The star, the sun. Guess what? The rays of the sun comes down in YX chromosome pattern, which happens to be just the reverse of the male chromosome patterns, which is what? XY chromosome. So when we are called SON, is because of our father who is SUN. So we was made in the image and after likeness of the SUN. That's why you see that depth with that sun over his head. But the woman was here before the male species. And guess how she brought us here? By opening her vaginal area up and receiving the solar phatic rays of the sun, in which that sparked the life principle in her, in which that formed the male species into existence. The male species still come from the woman to this very day. You can't bypass her, brothers. Try it and see. Let's see if that happens. She is the vessel for life on this planet, period. All right? The first one when you get in trouble, the first one you call on is mama. Daddy is an afterthought. It's mama that you calling on. Be for real. Mama! You need mama to come. You don't need daddy. Yeah, bring the car. When something happens, you can mama, because mama would do things that daddy won't do. Mama is the nurturer. Right? Daddy try to play hard. Boy, you ain't supposed to cry. Stop all them daggone tears. Step it up, you're a man now. Mommy be like, go on, you can cry. You go on and cry. Mama got you. You all right. You be like, thank you, mama. So the mama principle is the nurturing. That's the magnetic. So magnetism. Why do you think when you do healings, if you deal with healing, Reiki, pranic healing, you dealing with magnetism? Because that is a nurturing, a feminine aspect in which that you healing is feminine. So this is why men need to practice healing in order to put forth your, not your sensitive side, but your magnetic side. You know what I'm saying? Your magnetic side. Right? You know? So this here is the Aurora Borealis. Everybody know what this is. These are called the Northern Lights, right? You have the Southern Lights and the Northern Lights. Well, these lights get trapped in the atmosphere. Remember, 300,000 tons of stardust energy fall to the planet Earth daily. This is how it's coming in, it's through the poles. And it comes in order to affect your poles, your north and your south pole. The same way that it comes in through the sun, from the sun through the north and south pole of the earth. Continue on. You don't believe me? The ancient Egyptians know. What you think they doing? What you think they doing? Oh, Lord, they pagans, they sun worshipers. This actually is a position that we do in Qigong. This is exactly what we do in Qigong. Because my hands are open to receive. What you receiving? Love, nurturing. That prana, that cosmic energy is what you're receiving. Continue on. So, in the third dimension, melanin acts as a semiconductor to transform energy. This is from the book Secret of Melanin, Dispelling the Myths by Dr. Tim Owen Moore. He states, as a semiconductor, melanin has an energy gap. So, on the third dimension, melanin has an energy gap. So, you have to know how to fill that gap in. So, that means you have to raise your level beyond the third dimension. How you do that? Well, right here, it says the absorption of energy is required. So you have to absorb energy. Absorb what type of energy? Hydrogen. Prana. Right here. In order to require what it says, required before electrons. So hydrogen helps electrons jump into the conduction band and make melanin conductive. An increase of conductivity increases the sensitivity of melanin to the electromagnetic world of the etheric beings, astral projections, and spiritual entities. At low frequencies, the conductivity of melanin is small, but at ultra high frequencies, melanin is a superconductor. Maximum current flow on the skin due to skin effects at melanin UHF resonant frequency. This is from the UNC book written by Noor Amin, which is actually the UNC, African Origin of Electromagnetism by Noor Amin. Go further into the science of pranayama by Swami Sivananda, who was one of my teachers to my grandmaster, Sunyata Saraswati, who wrote the book Jewel in the Lotus. Right here, quantum physicist states that man is physically made up of the remnants of stardust. In addition, prana means the life force or life breath or life force energy and is the color of blood. So when we talk about, remember, we talk about there's a heavenly man, which is Adam Kadmon within the Kabbalistic teachings. Who heard of that? Adam Kadmon, the heavenly man. Who heard of course, just Adam. So there's a heavenly man and there's an earthly man. Well, this is the earthly, the heavenly man right here is prana. Prana means the lifeblood, or life breath, or life force energy, and it's the color of blood, like a ruby, a red gem. The seat of prana is in the heart. Sufis, those who practice mysticism of Islam, say that the closest way to Allah is in the heart. Those who are Moors, in the 101s, prepared by Prophet Noble states that the closest place you can meet Allah is in the heart. Interesting. And the seat of prana in man is at the heart. Why the heart? Because in the right ventricle, there's a seed atom that's there that records all your experiences. All your experiences are recorded in the right ventricle of your heart. And it's called a seed atom. Everything is inscribed upon that seed atom. So when you pass physical form, all of your life, deeds, ways, actions, behavior is inscribed in. This is why the ancient Egyptians threw away the brain and they kept the heart. And the heart is weighed on the scales of my yacht. Have anybody explained this to you before? Okay, but guess what? Now, if you take a feather and if your heart is light, in other words, do not have all the guilt, frustration, hurtfulness, anger, depression, and that heart is lighter than a feather, then you do not have to reincarnate here again. However, if that heart is heavier than a feather, then animus eats the heart. And who's animate? Animate is the creature, the crocodile slash dragon slash well, crocodile, dragon, same thing, but lion slash it's made of many parts. It's like what becomes the the Cimarron later within the Greek mythology, a creature of many different animal parts. But this creature eats the desires and the heart of the person, and the person has to come back into this experience again, but now no longer having the connection to their last life. So you come back here now, just like you did the last time, as Bobby say, now you come back with this daggone baby brain. Man, now you got that daggone baby brain now. You come back, you know, now you got that baby brain. And you don't have no remembrance of your last incarnation. Even though your soul knows, but you don't have that connection to your soul like you once did, because that connection was cut off because animals ate that connection. It really symbolizes you coming back and veiled in flesh. So when the soul becomes incarnated in the body, the communication from henceforth. You had a question, guys?
Well, it was more of a thought. I think that heart problems with the big in our community. And right now, a lot of young people are having, you know, so as you explained it, I was thinking about the enlarged heart, right, and just the correlation, you know, with the recycling of the energy.
Right. Well, each organ stores a particular emotion. For the liver, anger. So one minute outburst of anger shuts down your whole immune system for 6 hours. Your liver. Hatred is the heart. Stress is the brain. Rejection is the genitalia. Fear is the kidneys. All right? Depression is the lungs. So each organ has a particular emotion. So if you exhibit an emotion, then you know it's going to eventually get logged at because it's a chemical process that takes place in the brain, and the body sends that chemical to a specific organ to deal with it. So if you don't know how to cut yourself off from it and deal with those problems, then it will affect you. So this is why we go over the sounds of healing, which we'll get to in a second. Oh, yeah, I've read enough of that. Let me see. Yeah. So where energy is captured, the battery has more energy to use in the body. So melanin can absorb great amount of energy and yet not produce a tremendous amount of heat when it is absorbing this energy. In other words, this is the burning bush. Remember Moses in the burning bush? The bush communicated to Moses, and Moses looked at the bush and it was burning, but the bush wasn't consumed. Well, melanin has the ability to absorb a great amount of energy, but yet not produce a tremendous amount of heat when it's absorbed. So melanin can't get burned up. You see, that's the burning bush symbolically. So here, because it can transform harmful energies into useful energy, that's only if your melanin is clean. And how you cleanse melanin is vitamin B12, vitamin B6. That's what cleanses melanin. The herb I would take is dandelion. Dandelion has all 12 nutritive blood salts or tissue salts in dandelion on a daily basis. All right? So this means that the human being can charge up the melanin processes, the unique ability to absorb various energy sources and convert these absorbed energies into reusable energy. All right, remember, that's Roy G. Biv. You're able to absorb all the visible spectrum and all those energy rays, all 7 of them, everything from radio waves, infrared, well, TV waves, to microwave, to gamma rays. You have the ability to absorb all of that, and plus the visible spectrum, which is Roy G. Biv. So that's the reason why Bobby always told you that you had the ability over all these entities. Remember, I told you that these entities symbolizes those 7 spectrums, and also those 7 bands within that visible spectrum, Idolabro, and the 6 others which that he created. So you have the ability to be over all of those entities. Why? Because you have the ability to absorb all those frequencies. What do you think? Why do you think of the book? Whoever read The Greater and lesser mysteries of King Solomon, or the key of King Solomon. The greater mysteries of the key of King Solomon. Right. The 72 demons of Gay Ocean. Right. Right. If you read the story, Solomon had a 5-pointed star ring. Upright, he was able to absorb the demonic or energies. Turning downright, he was able to release them. When he wanted to encapsulate them, he turned it back upright. All that is talking about feminine, feminine, which is descending energy, and masculine, which is ascending energy. That's all it's talking about. Descending energy comes down into the body. It helps to keep the physical body together, which was, according to the Gnostics, they didn't want the soul incarcerated inside of the body. That was, to them, a sin. However, there's others who said, no, the physical body is fine. It's the tool of the mind in which that got abstract and got put into a state of sinfulness. Yeah, but the material plane is what causes those types of things to take place. That lust, that greed, that jealousy, that envy. Those things are what take place because of the physical body. You know, war, murder, you know, these things are negative things. So there's been a battle in the metaphysical / esoteric schools of thought, Gnosticism or mysticism, right? Which Gnosticism actually is a form of mysticism, basically. All right, but according to the science of blackness, melanin is black to allow the chemical structure to obtain, retain, store, and generate light and sound energy once it contacts the molecule. So you have to contact the molecule by your melanin. You have to contact that molecule. What is that molecule? Hydrogen. That light and sound energy permits the actor to have a higher level of perception and give him the ability to communicate with the dead, the spiritual world, and the outer space cosmos. Melanin defines the nervous system in such a way that messages from the brain reaches other parts of the body more rapidly in the original beat. That's just what it is. Continue on. So David Blair says in the metaphysical analysis of the coming catastrophes, he says scientists have blanketed the earth with electric energy trying to counteract the effects of the change in the magnetic force field. Their attempt can be as a single ant trying to hold back the tide of an ocean. All right, Carol Barnes writes that melanin is the chemical key to great black greatness. Melanin gives humans the ability to feel. So you wonder why others can't feel your plight? You don't have melanin. Melanin gives humans the ability to feel because it's the absorber of all frequencies of energy. Dr. Francis Cross wasn't right. Since melanin is a superior absorber of all energies, it's essential to establish this understanding of God and all energy. This is what we did today, right? The manifestation of God energy. The fact that the alkaline or whites lack melanin may also have to explain why, in the view of many non-white people, lack spirituality and the capacity to tune into and thereby establish harmony and justice. And you wonder why you ain't getting justice in the court system. Right. You have to morally check them. And what they are binded by is the Constitution. That's what they took the oath to. Everyone in there took the oath to it, not you. You did the Pledge of Allegiance, but you stopped doing it in 6th grade. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the nation which is there, one nation under there, liberty and justice for all. That was it. Sixth grade, that was it. You ain't had to do that no more after 6th grade, did you? Nevertheless, with all these energies coming into the Earth atmosphere, we don't like stars, meaning that we, as people, do not get enough natural light. Sun, due to working and living indoors under unhealthy artificial light and EMF. Electromagnetic fields, for example, such as power lines, home wiring, transformers, radios, televisions, mobile, cordless phones, cell phones, microwaves, computers, and other electronic appliances. In 1976, Dr. Susan Bowen and W. Ross Addy shows nerve cells affected by ELF fields, cell phones, and Wi-Fi radiation deplete testosterone and estrogen levels in men and women. This is why you don't. That's why you don't want to put a laptop in the lab. But right here, light starved symptoms, vitamin D, seasonal afflicted disorder, SAD, neurohormone transmitter disruption, depression, fatigue, irritability, lower sex drive, poor food absorption, lower immune functioning, and thoughts of suicide. All based on the average diet, especially a vegan diet. Many of us do not get enough B complex, which is folic acid, vitamin B12, B6. B vitamin helps the body to produce energy, which is the ATP, as we spoke about earlier. All right, form of red blood cells, energy production. Vitamin vitamin B1 is needed to help convert the carbohydrates we eat into glucose. The following B vitamins are needed at a cellular level to convert glucose into energy. B2, B3, B5, B6, and biotin. A vitamin B deficiency is in any of these vitamins can lead to decreased energy production, lethargy, and fatigue. Look at superfoods and herbs. All right. The herbs that you want for this is chlorella and spirulina, bladderwrack, kelp, moss. All right. These are fresh water and sea salt water type of vegetables, sea vegetables. All right. All right. Continue on. You know what's going on with melanin. All right. So right here, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man in the likeness of God, made him, male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam. So when he made male and female, he called their name Adam. So Adam wasn't just Adam himself, Eve was Adam too. And I'm gonna get to that in a second, because when you get to it, yes, continue on. So right here, at the heart, most men are terrified of the woman in infinite sexual capacity as they are fascinated by it. The general effect on men is that makes them feel sexually insecure and causes them to attempt to compensate with some other strengths. So sexual insecurities may be the primary reason men have sought physical, political, financial, intellectual, and religious advantages over the woman. This is the reason for sexism. Because the male actually feels sexually insecure next to the woman. Why? Because the man can do one thing and that's it for him. One ejaculation, that is it most of the time, unless he is bingo. Right? The woman can keep going on and on and on. I think Brother Bobby Hinover gave the illustration when he was in college. He said, man, she took down the whole dang on football team. All right, so her stamina for the sexual act is much greater than the male species, because the male has finite, the woman has infinite energy. All right, so right here it goes on and it says, so sexual insecurity is the primary reason. It may be, it is. So correcting this sexual imbalance can have significant side effects or benefits actually in establishing a more harmonious society. Buddha said women are the gods, women are light. By be among women in your thought. What it meant by that? In other words, be humble. Right? Be sensitive, be nurturing in your thoughts. Right? Everything don't always have to be rah-rah. You see? So even when we practice Qigong, the whole point of either Tai Chi is learning to be graceful. It's learning to be graceful. That's a woman art. So the whole thing about men doing Tai Chi is learning how to become graceful like a woman. Because he's so linear. Right? You know, this for those who want to do the karate. Oh boy, I'm telling you, boy, I had to do that when I was a kid in Taekwondo. I'm like, look, dude, look, we done did 3 hours of this, man. How many kicks? You said 200 with each leg. You throw them blocks and punches and all that in it too. All right. Ooh, I was glad when I got the Tai Chi. So right here, the X is the mitochondrial E, representing the female. All right? The female in her original form was XXX. She degenerated to XX. The male came forth from her by way of 150,000 years later, all right, in XY, based off of the interaction of the sun's solar phatic rays and her vaginal canal, which sparked life inside her womb. If you don't believe me, get the book Secret of Regeneration by Hilton Hotima. Get the book Secret of Regeneration by Hilton Hotima. Hotima, H-O-T-E-M-A, Hilton Hotima. So you might think, well, hold up now, the Bible says that Adam, that Eve came from the rib of Adam. But remember, I showed you that there was 2 Adams. Heavenly Adam, which is called Adam Cadman, and earthly Adam. No, Eve came from heavenly Adam. And I showed you what heavenly Adam was, right? What was heavenly Adam? Anybody remember? It was prana. It was prana energy. All right? And the word Adam simply means red. If you go to Hebrew, it simply means red. And what color did that tell you that prana was? It was red. Ruby gem, red color. So that's the Adam that Eve came from. It's talking about from prana. But it's not a gender. Remember, man is mind, not a gender. We get confused with that. Man has the same rudimentary organs as the woman. Woman has a breast, man got chest. He got 2 nipples, same as the woman who got 2 nipples. Right? Men got ovaries, which was the testicles that fell. The ovaries, the testicles was actually up here. Y'all remember that, right? Inside of the child. And the doctors have to look and wait for, within the first week, for those testicles to fall. That's the fall of man, where you get that story from. The fall of man is talking about the fall of the testicles. Because now he can sexually go about his activity. He can't do that with the testes inside, because that becomes what is called a hernia. Right? Uh-oh, you see how simple this stuff becomes now? So now, the testes fall, but those are not the ovaries. They're the fallopian tubes. The penis is nothing but the elongated clitoris, or clitoris. The vulva area is nothing but the sewn up area in between the man's legs. Every man up in here got that sewn up area. And it looks like it's sewn up. Look like God just said, inside the womb. How you think that happened? Y'all don't believe me? Just look, take a look. It looked like God just sewn that joint up inside the womb, like somebody was just up in that piece, like, oh, that's perfect. Look at that line. And it's from his scrotum sac over to his anus. What sense do that make? For it to be sewn up? Because at one time that was open too. That was open for 6 weeks inside of the mother's womb, where there was no differentiation between sex. Everybody from the first moment of conception to 6 weeks inside the womb is feminine. So the female, right, which is masculine, feminine, which is magnetic. So the woman principle came first. Go ahead. You had a question?
I don't know if it was you or somebody. They said you could actually, like, if you when you bust, all the way in, you can create one sex. And
Oh yeah, yeah, right. When you on deep thrust, you can create a boy. All right, shallow stroke, you can create a girl. All right, also based on the nostril, which is activated. All right, right. If the right nostril is activated during the deep thrust, then a boy would be formed because the right nostril symbolizes the electrical component. If the left nostril is activated upon ejaculation and you're doing shallow stroke, then the girl would be born.
When I'm thinking about it, I can remember which one it was.
Right. All right, so check which nostril is dominant during the sexual act. And that's how you would know what sex or child that you will have. See, y'all don't even know how deep this stuff went. I just thought it was just, oh, get up in a little bit of monkey sex.
So
No, there's a little bit more than monkey sex.
Is it the man's nostril?
Both. You can actually do the women's nostrils also. You can actually do what's called alternating nostril breath technique. Breathe in for a count of 4. Close both of them for 16. Out. For a count of 8. So 4, 16, 8, and then alternate and do it the other side. 8. And that's alternating breath technique. And you can do that during the sexual act. So if you want a girl, then you just implement those techniques. You want a boy, you implement those techniques. You see? So sex is a science. All right? So this is what this is all about. So right here, it says correcting the sexual imbalances can have significant side benefits in establishing a more harmonious society. So right here, you come down, you go to the next one. We saw that that X chromosome was broken, and there was about 2.8 of genetic material that is missing. Some say it's about up to 28% if you just look at the document. But what it is that actually that percentage of the leg that is missing becomes actually the leg of the phallus now. So that's actually that what they call that genetic missing material actually is not missing. It actually went into the formation of elongating the phallus symbol, which was formerly the clitoris. So now that becomes, as they say, the magic wand, because all that XX, which now that X becomes a Y, that 2.8 genetic material is now going into the manufacturing of the phallus. Anybody understand what I'm just saying? All right, so it's not missing, it's still there. It just went into a different role, right? So now men have XY chromosome, all right, instead of XX chromosome. So there's actually at one time, for at least 150,000 years, there was only one sex on the planet, and that was woman. And she was able to produce other women within herself because there's actually a sac. It's called a Bartholian gland, which sits behind her egg sac, her ovaries, area, which that at one time was called the porphyrium, area, in which that she was actually able to produce sperm, or what we now refer to as sperm within males. She actually was able to produce that same substance. All right. If you have a woman who has a vaginal orgasm, you can see the same type of white substance in which that the male has coming from out of her vaginal area, because she had the same component. She had it first. So we actually inherited from her, but it was in a more degenerative state. All right? So we still have the same components sexually, you know? But as Hilton Otima says, no woman is perfect woman, no man is perfect man. What that means is that we all have estrogen and testosterone, all right? Each one of us have testosterone and estrogen. Males have more testosterone, right? While women have more estrogen. Well, based on the foods that they've given us now, which is GMO food, that's about to make no damn difference whatsoever. Y'all know that, right? That's what that is for. That food is to make us sterile. So there will be no quote unquote. This is what causing the homosexuality. What's the dude's name? His name is he's a scientist. His name is Tyrone Hayes. Thank you. Tyrone Hayes. See, that's what I'm talking about. I love my people, man. Tyrone Hayes, scientist, chemist. He did a study on frogs. And he said the food, the stuff that they put in the food, which is GMO food, and there's a chemical called aphazine. Right, aphazine or something like that, aphazine. And he said that they're putting in food is causing our youth to be homosexual. He said it's purposely done as part of the population control agenda by the Rockefellers and by the Rothschilds and the eugenics program and the Planned Parenthood and all of that stuff. All of them is trying the same thing, sterilization. Okay, so that's what that is about. You got a question, Brian?
Yes, sir. So I want to make sure I understand. So basically what you're saying is that prior to Earth, males did not exist. I'm clear on that?
Right.
Okay.
Except inside of her as you always have and always would like to be.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's my first time, hearing that. But I was thinking that I'll put it to you this way, then you can understand where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. She was the perfect androgynous being at one time.
Okay, I'm coming from a Cymatics perspective. Mm-hmm. In order for you to understand Ma'at, you have to understand what they call Swawi, which is the prime creator.
Right,
which the pure consciousness of energy. So the prime creator was always a balanced male and female energy. Because remember the schools of enlightenment, we had Amun, Ra, and Ptah. And when you study that, you find out that each of them had source. Because basically those three main teachings are dealing with the mental, the spiritual, and physical plane of the universe. And so that's why I'm trying to say. Right.
But they all came from the primordial waters, which is the state of noon. Right. And the primordial water symbolizes the ambiotic fluids of the womb aspect, which the woman has.
And the reason why that I'm also saying that too is that, like what's going on in America right now. Now, from my studies, okay, homosexuality did not exist on the earth. That's the first point. And that's one reason why the sexual energy is low on the earth.
Well, I didn't mention anything about homosexuality until Tyrone Hayes and this new byproduct of this GMO food. Even though you know that it was in various cultures like the Greek and the Romans and the Persians when they invaded Egypt.
Right. And also what I'm saying too is that the reptilians that came from the Afro system, they were what you call merchandise, where they had the male and the female genes inside them, but they didn't have females in their species. So what I'm saying is that we know, even Dr. Suzar pointed out in her book, Black After the White One, that if two males come together, two females come together, they can't produce life.
Right.
You see.
Right.
So that's why I was, getting kind of, confused when you were saying.
I didn't say anything about none of that. I was talking about the woman was able to be asexual within herself. In other words, she didn't need a man. She was able to reproduce on her own.
Right. That's where I'm getting confused at, because, like I said,
this is still shown today. Women, when y'all have fibroid tumors, do y'all know that when the fibroids is taken out, that it has hair, nails, bones, skin? What is that? That was the woman at one time, her potentiality of producing life on her own. but it wasn't further initiated with that spark of life to bring it to full manifestation. But that's what fibroid tumors are. Don't believe me? Women, go and look it up. Hair, nails, skin, bones, all of that is part of the fibroid tumor. What is being produced? A child is attempting to be produced, but the woman did not or do not have the ability in order to bring the child into full manifestation. She did not receive the spark of life from the male, and she did not receive the spark of life either from the sun god, which is the sun itself. So she still has that ability, but is at a low rate. She's degenerating. We all are degenerated on this planet because we now been inundated by a doctrine in which that is Europeanized. So now the male species, only thing he want to do is downgrade the woman aspect of himself. When now it's time for us to join together in order to think ourselves from out of this nonsense that he put us in. All right, so I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to show y'all just a little bit more. So, go back, please. But this is what I was talking about, the Aquarius, right there. You see that? It says right here, let me try to explain a little bit better. Our sun is constantly exploding nuclear holocaust, a giant hydrogen bomb, and raining radioactive particles all over the entire solar system. Therefore, the dispersal of particles produce tiny mutational changes called micromutations. The sun rays electrical activities, the magnetically charged woman physical body, with its divine merger, generates an electromagnetic force, which is Kundalini Shakti, endocrine glands called chakras, or melanin energy centers, or neuromelanin nerve endings. With all the energy is consciously converging onto the first chakra, second chakra, which activates the parabarium, or the epiphoron, and the popoporon, and the porphyrium, which is the Bartholian glands, which are located on each side of the vaginal orifice, discharges a component of a seminal fluid into the urethra, and which has the same properties as the male sperm. This secretion is the equivalent of the urethral gland in the man that is located behind or below, the prostate gland. Therefore, the woman is capable of reproducing seminal fluid on her own internally without the help of male sperm. This is from the book Secret of Regeneration by Hilton O'Tini. So the woman at one time had that capability, all right? However, when she fell, we came into existence. Why? Because now we had to help with that fall. We now had to help her with that aspect of life because she could no longer do it on her own. So the male species came into existence in order to help her bring life to this planet. That's all this is about. This ain't about, Albert and Costello, who's on first? What's on second? It's not about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just simply telling you the scientific way of that we need to start looking at things. Because in the 5 and 6 teachings, I was taught that the man is primary and the woman is secondary, but most necessary. That's what I was taught in the 5 and 6. But that's my foundation. However, after 25 years and more of study, sorry, that shit don't fly. Truth is truth. You know what I'm saying? And I respect my role I got to play as a masculine male in order to help the woman bring life here. It's just, that's what man, he's supposed to be supportive, supposed to be subjective, he's supposed to be objective, I should say. He's supposed to be, provide security. There's still roles that the male is supposed, which this present generation has gotten away from. They've gotten away from, they damn went Metro. Y'all know what's going on with the Metro men, right? And you sisters. Right? Their hair's longer, their nails are better. That's what's going on. And they call themselves Metro. But they not bisexual now. allegedly, but they metro, right? Yeah.
What I'm trying to understand is how something in a strong state moves down, it produces or creates something that enhances, that's weak.
Which means?
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Right.
see. If she's here and she doesn't have,
But she
has-
degenerated too, brother.
Okay. Yeah, she
Mhm.
has the
But he had what we need.
Okay,
Right.
see, but-
Well, you got to understand, nature always provides a circumstance in order to help correct itself.
but let me explain
That's what it's called, natural selection or nature selection. Nature always had to do natural selection. There's always had to be a process of getting things back into balance, getting things back into order. That's what Mayat is about.
Let me explain why.
Mhm.
Because from a metaphysical standpoint, and all that is,
Mhm.
we have the ability to fall,
Mhm.
and in that fall, our perception or intention of whatever that fall is,
Mhm.
can create something that can enhance our growth.
Right. Right.
And that's what happened.
Basically.
She was,
Right.
okay,
Right. Right. What happened was that, yes, she had XXX chromosome. She lost that X chromosome because of these mutations that took place on this planet based on millions of years of being exposed to certain elements. All right. Like, for example, what happened to the dinosaurs? What scientists tell you about what happened to the dinosaurs? They tell you that 65 million years ago, meteorites hit the planet Earth and destroyed all the dinosaurs on the planet Earth. We got a major catastrophe. Well, guess what? They claim that men and women weren't on the planet. But guess what? You read the book Forbidden Archaeology by Michael Creedmoor and Richard L. Thompson. There's relics in which that have been discovered, which dates back billions of years. 2.8 billion years on the planet in South Africa. 600 million years in Dorchester, Massachusetts, in the so-called United States. And guess what? There's footprints next to dinosaurs. Walking next to dinosaurs, millions of years old. So there's something wrong with scientists trying to get us to believe, in particular, scientists or the Smithsonian scientists, who have hidden a lot of information from us purposely, because the Vatican tells them what they can release and what they can't release. But the Vatican has over 200,000 documents that they stole from out of the Library of Alexandria and different other places in which that deals with this type of information. So the only thing we're trying to do is go into their library without having to go there, because we know that there's been lies that's been told. But get the book Forbidden Archaeology by Michael Creedmoor and Richard L. Thompson. There's another book called The Hidden History of the Human Race by Richard Thompson and Michael Creedmoor. Yes. Dead Man Speaks. Exactly, Dead Man Speaks. And there's also another called Human Devolution by Michael Creedmoor. Human devolution, and he goes into the same information that we're talking about here, how the race or the species fell. You know what I'm saying? In other words, we never evolved from no apes. All right, I'm sorry, that Charles Darwin theory is out the box, out the window. That never happened. That's nonsense. Not us as the pre-Adamites, as they refer to us as. All right, the pre-Adamites story is totally different than what they refer to as the Adamites in a sense. Even though we use the term of Adam, because Adam is the ancient Cymatics, you know what I'm saying, Atum. And then you have the scientific aspect of Atum and Adam, which is the atoms itself, which makes up your physical body. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that happened to us as slaves, and from where we were and who we are now, we are stronger now than what we were when we came from that?
Yeah,
Anything that's occurring in us right now?
I give you a good example. Let's look at a black piece of coal, charcoal. All right, it's black, right? In order to transform into a diamond, what does it need? It needs pressure.
You need heat. You need friction. So the more heat, pressure, and friction you can add to that piece of code, the quicker it transforms into a what? So you've been depress, suppress, oppress. Depress, oppress, suppress. Depress, suppress, oppress. What do you think is going to happen to you, black piece of code? Because remember, your body is made of carbon. What is going to transform? What is going to transform you into? Bingo. Bingo. Right. Only thing that Albion or Tamahu is here to do is make you transform yourself to a higher level. That's it. That's what we made them for. For those that fail, for those that make it, right. 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 Well, there is a fall. There's a fall from consciousness. All right. For example, there's 7 stages of consciousness. You have interpersonal consciousness, intrapersonal consciousness, life consciousness, what they refer to as subconsciousness, superconsciousness, magnetic consciousness, and infinite consciousness. So you have 7 states of consciousness. You was at infinite consciousness. You fell to magnetic consciousness. You fell further to superconsciousness. You fell further to subconsciousness. You fell further to life consciousness. You fell further to intrapersonal consciousness. And now most people that walk is about me, myself, and I, which is interpersonal consciousness. And that's where they stuck at, which actually is at the first chakra, which is at the root or base chakra. So everything is just about me, myself, and I don't care about. You heard Lil Wayne's statement recently? Now he been known to yell Black Lives Matter in concerts, but at the same time, on his interview, he's saying, I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Don't come with that. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask me nothing about no Black Lives Matter. I don't hear nothing about none of that. Ain't no such thing racism. I mean as a nigga, you know, young black rich nigga, you know, that should tell you that things are changing in America. You know what I'm saying? I don't even care none of that. Yes. That's me, myself, and I, right?
Yeah.
He said, I don't even relate to what is going on with me. Sorry, brother. I had to get that out.
Is it safe to say that in reality, during the slavery, based on what you're breaking down, that slave master in reality had to break the black woman down first as opposed of black men?
Right, right. Well, actually, that's what the Willie Lynch booklet, anyone who read that, that's what it's about, transforming a woman, black woman, into a bitch. How they was going to be able to do that? By getting the man, making him submit, effeminize him, right? And then take the children, effeminize the male child, and make the female child independent away from the male. Now, if that ain't what happened in society today, I don't know what is. I mean, that is the purpose. That, some say the CIA wrote that. I know I heard Dick Gregory say that. I know there was a brother that came out a couple of years ago who said that he actually wrote that back in the 80s. Mr. Farrakhan ended up getting his hands on it and read it at the Million Man March in '95. Whatever the case is, I don't give a damn. I'm just saying that the information that is in there happened because even Malcolm writes about that information in his book on Malcolm X history,
so with that
Afro history.
So with that being said, then, is that the reason why then it's hard for, I'm talking about mainly in America, is that the reason why it's hard for say like a conscious black man like me to find like a conscious black woman, because the way I could say they was raised up from slavery during that time. So see, that's something that's never made sense to me. If there's more, yeah, the point I'm making is, what I do know, there's always been more women, like women than men. But from my, no, that's fact. But from my experience in walking life, I'm talking about Western civilization, but you got more brothers that are conscious than sisters. Nobody can't debate me with this because it's a fact. Now, my thing is that if you're saying that males did not come into existence onto this earth, and the sisters sit here.
But understand, I'm not saying that. I'm giving you the books and the scientists.
10,000 years before the male did.
I'm giving you the books and the scientists who
Right,
are stating
right.
this.
I'm just getting to a point. Then, therefore, a lot of problems that we have now, they should have been cleared up a long time ago. Because that's the thing I'm trying to figure out.
Actually, it might would have if we didn't have another interference by a species in which that has been detrimental to everything on this planet.
Right.
You know,
Now, are you for so then
to the Tamahu, the Albion.
the Tamu or
Right.
the Hugu,
Right.
okay, or
Right.
what happened?
Right.
And so that's
Now,
why-
if there wasn't initiation of in a doctrine in which that becomes detrimental to us, we would definitely have gotten things together. You know, I mean, I just think that's a fact because based on history, for the last 6,000 years of history, if you go through it, matter of fact, the best book to get is Black Destruction of Civilization by Chancellor Williams. He explains over the last 6,000 years on what happened in every culture with the interaction with the Albion. Destruction. Every culture, not just one,
and that,
every single culture that they have
and I want you to give me
interfered with.
clarity on this too. One more question. Give me clarity on this. Okay, who and what created with these so-called Caucasians? But my understanding up until this point, you know, that they got locked up in the cold region. They were originally African,
Right.
got stuck in the cold region.
Mhm.
Then when
Mhm.
that period came,
Right.
they lost their,
Mhm.
melanin.
Mhm.
What happened to the Eskimos?
So when
Well,
I'm saying,
let's look at it.
So
Let's look at that.
what I'm saying is that okay, we lost our melanin. Supposedly had lost our
Right,
melanin.
right.
And then, like you were saying that I do know that Galvan, the recent monkey that came from Ryan,
Mhm.
called it grave, killing, and the fallen angel.
Mhm.
They were the ones that assisted in creating, like I said, what you call the Caucasians.
Mhm.
But recently, like I said, as actually one of the elder scientists I studied with, he said that scientist, he say that the Caucasians did not come from the black people. So elaborate on that.
Okay. All right, let's look at this. If they didn't come from us, then we wouldn't be able to sexually have babies by them. They had to have come from us in some shape, form, or fashion. Because there's no way for sexual. Let's look at nature itself. All right, you got a donkey and a horse. A donkey and a horse both might be what? Furry. Might be both furry. But they're in the mix of a donkey and a horse coming together, they produce what? A mule. And the mule is what? Sterile. That means Barack Obama, who came from a so-called white parent and a so-called black parent, would have been sterile too, based on that analysis. But he got 2 girls, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
So he's not sterile. So that means that information right there is flawed based on that scenario alone. All right, they came from us. Now, how did they get here? Let's look at vitiligo. What happens? All of us have seen people who have vitiligo. There's a loss of coloration in their skin, right? Right or wrong?
Albinos.
Okay,
also.
right. And vitiligo is just a earlier form of what leads to an albino state. So now let's say these albinos get locked up for 2,000 years. There's incest going on. Because you know that's what's going to happen. They forget consciousness and knowledge of self. Remember, the tale is that they was locked up in the carcass mountains for 2,000 years. That means they was having sex with each other for 2,000 years. So that means incest, interbreeding, them having sex with animals because they was on the animalistic nature and that type of mentality and all these types of things led to them being the beings that they are now. Me personally, I think there was some tampering genetically because of the fact that they cannot produce quote unquote so-called melanated children. 2 Europeans produce another European, another European, another European,
And the reason why
another
I say
European.
that, and because why I agree with you that
Mhm.
a black woman can produce all phenotypes
Bingo.
of woman,
Exactly.
but a white woman cannot.
Only the black woman had the mitochondrial DNA in order to produce all life form on this planet. That's how we know from her came red, white, brown, yellow, came everybody. It's from her. It's from her genetic structure. Why? Because you can look at our race species just in here. We're all different shades and tones of brown up in here. Just here. You see? So what that means is that there is something more extreme that took place with them. All right? And that had to come by way of incest and some other things that took place. And I'm saying that I don't have the time to go into the whole analysis, because I would give you a whole rendition, the particular gene codes, the scientists who said this. I like to put stuff together so I can show you. You know what I'm saying? That way there's no doubt in your mind.
And what I'm also saying too is that most of the Caucasians, they have 2-3 strand DNA with no soul. They have no connection, like I said, with the creators. In other words, most so-called Caucasians, they're only 3D.
Right.
So they can't go past, like I said, the third dimension, and then even the so-called aliens that supposedly created them, they're only fourth dimension.
Well, we're looking at the third dimension. That's length, width, and height. Length, width, and height. In order to be into a fourth dimension, must have depth, which is time and space. Then the fifth dimension deals with what we refer to as energy. The sixth dimension deals with gravity. So they are at a third dimensional level, which is length, width, and height. All right, that's why everything is 1, 2, 3, ABC, solid, liquid, gas. Everything is in those 3, because 3 actually deals with manifestation. So they are simply a creature of manifestation. So if you look at what we was talking about earlier about UHF, remember we said UHF, which is ultra high frequency. Remember the OTVs? Remember the OTVs? I mean, before the remote control. Before this, right? Y'all remember that, right? This is before Barack Obama came in, before the plasma TVs and all that, right? Before they changed the frequency, right? Y'all remember all this, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, OTV, you had straight ear antennas, which we call rapid ear antennas. That was straight antennas. Well, that only gave you access to very high frequency, which was channel what? Channel 2 to channel 13. However, to go into channel U, you had to have the ohm antenna. Why is that antenna round like the structure of your hair? And it's called the ohm antenna. See, you are already a fourth dimensional being, but you're being held down by a third dimensional being, and you're supposed to be going into the fifth dimension. That's why they're holding you down, because they don't want you to deal with energy. And fourth dimensional is death. Death deals with time and space, which actually is talking about your soul. You know, when they said, man, yo, that shit was dead. You know, when they do that, right? That's death. That's your death. You know, when you got death, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? When you got death, you know, that's deep. You know what I'm saying? You got right. That's your soul. So the fourth dimension deals with the soul principle in that regard, and you're supposed to be dealing with energy as you go to the fifth dimension. This is what Dr. W. Blair was talking about. But you're being held down by third dimensional beings. This is what Dr. Phil was talking about lockdown code transmissions. We're being locked down. You know what I'm saying? Our frequency code is being locked down. Okay, there we go. Our frequency code is being locked down by third dimensional beings, because they don't want us to graduate. This is why they put the chemtrails in the sky, because the chemtrails are supposed to block the sun. Remember, I showed you that you're supposed to be absorbing this energy to fill in that gap of melanin, so that you now have the ability in order to do what? Make your melanin a superconductor. See, another A student. All right, so that's what's supposed to be happening. So they put chemtrails in the sky in order to stop that from happening. That's what that is about. They do that to stop that from happening. So chemtrails, which is laced with what? Aluminum. What is aluminum? If I take a piece of aluminum and hold it up to the sun, what happens? It reflects. So that means they got the whole sky, you know what I'm saying, around the globe, laced with, because they know that any melanated people around the globe who can get enough energy can become the Christ.
They do that on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, exactly. 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 Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Yes, because remember, aluminum, what causes what, think about it, what causes Alzheimer's? Dementia. It comes from heavy aluminum. All right, aluminum, and which most of the time people use in antiperspirant, deodorant under their arms. That aluminum gets into the brain and it shuts down the pineal gland. Water has fluoride in it. Tap water in particular, that calcifies the pineal gland. So these things happen. The GMO food, that is meant to make you sterile down here, but also make you sterile up here in order to stop the synapses and the dendrites from firing off in the brain. So you forget stuff. It's a forgetful agent. That's what fluoride is. Fluoride was used during World War II as a forgetful agent by the Nazis. The Nazis used to use fluoride in order to make people forget, to make them docile, to make them behave. So this is the first thing they teach our children in school. They give you that daggone big, they give you that cup with that blue stuff up in it. Say, yeah, go on and risk your mouth out. Yeah, you can swallow it too. Y'all remember that? They still do that. Y'all know that, right?
It has skull and bones on it too. Yeah, under fluorescent light.
Oh, under fluorescent light, exactly. Exactly. Still forgiven? Oh. Same thing.
We haven't learned the lesson.
No, right. No, right. Because we have to graduate. We have no choice. We have to graduate. So the earth always sent forth apostles, prophets, messiahs, which is nothing but messengers. You know, a prophet is nothing more than who looks at historical information and say, okay, we see what took place in the past. Let's not try to do that again. That's a prophet. All right. So when we be thinking of a prophet, we thinking, oh, like Prophet Muhammad, oh, alayhi salam. Oh. No, you're talking about a prophet is a person who was looking at history and said, look, that was the wrong route. My wife told her mom just the other day, look, y'all went the wrong way. Y'all went the wrong way.
And it's okay to turn around.
And it's okay to turn around. All right? Because the wrong way was integration, assimilation.
Right.
All right?
Also, another wrong way, too, brother, to address what you were stating. We have been taught that there's not enough women. We got all these brothers. But even in this room right here, it is 13 women and 15 men. And 2 women left. Francis' granddaughter left and her daughter. So that's equal and balanced. But we are constantly being taught that we need to inequalify the woman. And in that question was just that. The reason why it's hard for a conscious brother to find a conscious sister is because we have been miseducated. You want to be friends with him. The guy you get along with, he's your friend. But we're chasing the brother who don't want you, or the brother who wants multiple women. You see, so that's why you can't find a conscious woman.
Well, let me say something I just said to that. You know, I'm 50 years old. And what I'm saying, I've been conscious like 22 years when I came into I could say conscious. If you ask me who I was a man 22 years ago, if a sister came up to me 22 years ago and asked me who was a man, I couldn't tell them who a black man was, who a black or whatever. And I've put the time in and have done the work to become conscious. But the reality is, in Western civilization right now, 90% of sisters are they're still locked into that Christ, being. And also, the second spiritual mother told me, because I asked her a question one time. I said, "Is it a man's job just to work and pay bills?" And this is something a black woman never told me. My mother didn't even tell me this. She said, "No, son. A man is also supposed to be a nurturing healer.
Right.
So when you break that down during the slavery, I hear a lot of people say, well, this black man, oh, he's a male shoulder, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that during slavery, they broke down the spiritual foundation. So that's the first thing that you had to have. And one was normally one that communicated with the creator first, got the instructions, and then brought it down, like I said, to the family. So they really did a job on our sisters in doing this slavery. So therefore, I would say probably the last 200 years, the majority of the mothers have been raised up to be, unconscious. So therefore, if you have a mother that's unconscious and she has, sons, okay, like out of my family, I had 4, sisters. So I was from a house of a lot of women.
See?
But the reality is that my mother, she was unconscious, so most of them, I consider, were unconscious. And so if a woman's not raised up to deal with a man that's, conscious and what it is to be, I just said, man, there's no way that he's going to be able to be a nurturer, like I said, in the healer. And then after I even talked to Alim El-Bey about a month ago, she said that by design, the Caucasian, they specifically, like I said, send black men off the war, kill them all, create all this crime. But the big thing now is welfare, because they were trying to find a way that they connect, like I said, to the system. But I'm looking at it's 2016, like I said, I read it now, and I'm saying to myself, we should be moving more towards a higher, a consciousness of the brothers and sisters. They should be, coming together, but it's still a big, like I said, separation on that. So that's the way. And I'm, self-taught, but then in the last year, because what I also do know too is that when you really study the society of ancient Kemet, there was no such thing as no male sex disease. Matter of fact, black women back then had just as much, right to do what a man. So it wasn't just all men that made that pyramid. It was men and women, because there was a balance there. And that's why I said earlier that in order for you to understand you have to understand why we tie we. Because the prime credit is a balance of male and female energy. And when you go, when you talk about the killer bond, okay, you basically talk about hermeticism, because one of the laws of hermetic laws is gender, male and female gender. So no matter if you're in the mental, spiritual, physical plane, as I explained, it's always a balance of male and female energy, because that's the reason why the Caucasians, that's why they took the feminine energy out. And I would say this, this last thing. It was sisters that challenged me when I was, I was still in Christianity. But they was asking me, I told them I didn't know what one, so I had to pray in the spirit. So if it wasn't for sisters that was challenging me, I wouldn't know. So what I did was history, my favorite subject. I said, well, let me go back and see what these sisters keep on wanting me to, figure out. So when I went back and I broke the etymology from Jesus Christ down, there is no feminine energy. And then when I took it further, and I found out the council Nicaea, that's what those reptilian / Caucasian popes took the feminine, energy, out. And then they put just the Father, the Son, Holy Ghost, it's all men. And then I even found out later that the original Trinity was the Mother, the Father, and the Son. We have to start that. And Haru. You see what I'm saying? But right now in Western civilization, I just said that now, most of our people, and I had to say especially the black women, because there's more of them, they're still locked into the Jesus Christ
But we
scenario.
just talked about how the Christ consciousness.
Right, if I could interject, the simplicity of my eye and nature, and as Dr. Bay explained to us, when he explained the physiology of the body and how it changed, and the fall, and even down to the testing, nature found a way to create a helpmate, and that helpmate was really for the woman. But I know that in man came first, the woman was created to be.
And that the woman was the Holy Ghost. You got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Well, no, I'm just backing up, because the simplicity of my idea is the man
Right,
came
but
first.
I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that when you understand, meritocracy, clear, as I said before, the prime creator has what some people say has no gender, but in reality, it's always been about male and female energy.
Okay.
Okay, so also, too, because I studied.
Now, we do have a lot of sisters still in Christianity.
I know that, that's what
We
I
all
said.
become conscious like in their own time, so your
And
opinion is coming.
see, I understand. That's what I said, that's what I said earlier. And so.
I said, but he wanted now. I said, that's the problem that's going on. Too many in Christianity, you want it now. Come on now.
So, that you need to study as your God in my heart. But that's something free. But I got all that in the debate.
Yeah, I've never listened to her.
But she made it real clear that, being in my heart, whatever plane that you're in, it's always about male and female. Always.
Yeah, you're gonna attract your queen once you resonate at that right energy, and y'all match up.
Right.
She's coming.
Say,
And see-
I was taught that where there are no decent women, there are no decent men. Now, at the no, but it's also said that no such thing as a good woman that she may want to look like. But in that, when you talk about marriage, the white man knew exactly that if he poisoned her, this is why the messenger said 75% of the work is with the woman. Not because of maybe she's been tampered that much, or maybe because she's that important.
Because she's the foundation of the
Exactly.
nation.
So when you try to understand what we're trying to understand as a whole, from a spiritual standpoint, we were always male and female. One, we need to go to the beginning. Right. All right. So as we come down to understand in this English language and the process we have gone through where we are in this physical body, it may seem like, and that's not what you're saying, it may seem like, well, who came first? Who's the greater? But the sister made it very, very clear, and I appreciate you saying that. It comes to help me. But in this dispensation of time, if you will, when it comes to the black woman or the female, it is said, it's hard to be a black man, in America, and it is, but if you really, if it's true, and history actually shows it's true, then she got beat up worse than we did.
Okay.
Like I said, I made that point. But what I'm saying is I'm very, I have to say, simple and very clear. I'll say it another way is that if they are first and they got more power, then they should have created some type of entity to uplift family out. Because, like I said, because we should have, in reality, we should have defeated these Caucasians by now, and it has not happened.
See, when you use the word they, it's a separation of personality. That's me right there. In the high form, now when
It's like
when we
blaming.
talk about
No, that's what got us in this predicament to begin with.
So let's don't start all over with the blame game.
Right, right.
We need each other.
Yeah, remember, that's what got us into the
That's the point I
The
just
blaming
said
got
that
us
I'm
in this
making.
predicament.
But
And it's keeping us in this.
Remember, Adam blamed Eve.
Sure did.
God, you gave it to me.
No, we're not misunderstanding what you're saying.
I'm very clear.
Now, who can heal?
I got you.
Who can heal the woman but the black man? Period, point blank. So the secret is how you talk to her. Your mother is not going to put down Jesus. Matter of fact, that's her magic word. Another magic word for the RBG is black power. So if you want to talk to them, you have to give them their language. So when you're talking to your grandma, you need to be like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, and get your little stuff on. And then now y'all can talk about the science. Because you done gave her the key to open the door. All she need to hear was Jesus, and she can hear everything else you say. You understand that Jesus is your Christ consciousness. So you ain't thinking about no Caucasian, even though she is. And because now y'all can bond, she will build, and you'll be able to pull her up out of that.
I mean, like it sounds,
It works. It works because you know when you go into the consciousness, your family hates you. You become the black sheep, right? Am I lying? Your family start feeding your baby pork. They're like, you ate pork. They
Jesus Christ, like I said, they don't want to hear. I'm telling you from my experience. I don't travel. I'm spiritual. So what I'm saying to you is that, as it speaks right now, average sister in America, that's what I'm talking about. Right now, they're looking for a man that is still in this JC. They want materialism, and they want money. And I'm being real, like I said about it. So, but the bottom line is that the moment that the average sister, you start talking about, I just said, consciousness.
You need to say Jesus, brother. You need to stand in the mirror and be like, Jesus.
So I've been that a million times.
And you already understand what it means.
I've been out there 27 years.
Let me tell you something. When I was saying Jesus, I was having a problem with my family. We all have. Our parents, we were the black sheep. They feeding our children pork when we ain't there. Because they like, you ate it. And it's because we won't say Jesus. And that's all you got to say is Jesus. But you understand it's talking about your Christ consciousness. I'm telling you, brother. Me and my mother were going at it for years, and I'm like, dang, I need her though. I need her because she's gonna pass down my legacy. And that's why they gave us that spell, so that we can be kept fighting and kept apart. And all I gotta say is Jesus, and it's gonna change things. And now I can talk about the chakras, I can talk about candle magic, I can lead her to the altar and how we burnt offerings with incense. But before I said Jesus, I couldn't even burn a candle in the house. That's voodoo. But now because I'm saying hallelujah and thank you, Jesus, you need to say Jesus, yes. And don't you understand that's symbolic to the Christ seat now? Dr. Alim just went over that. That's the halo. That's your higher nature. That's your Christ seat.
I understand it, but I'm just saying.
And it's okay that she does it.
I'm saying that the average sister in America don't, but they still.
How are you gonna reach her and you can't even get the door open, brother? No wonder you ain't got no queen. You have got to learn how to open the door with the key.
You can't even talk to the sister until she gets that concept out of her mind.
All you gotta do is say Jesus. I'm telling you, and she will speak to you. She'll perform tantra with you. She will pray and meditate with you. All you gotta do is say Jesus. I just gave you the magic word.
I made like one I was very clear. And see, I'm a realist. And what I'm saying is there's no one over somebody else.
By extension, magical energy.
Right, you already cut yourself off.
Yeah.
Right, you already cut yourself off.
But in my mind, I was talking about right here. In all due respect, I'm so excited over what's occurring to the past. Dr. Phil, I'm so excited that a woman right now, to be honest with you, if she's not supportive and she will be, that's where my marriage is wisdom. But my terminology, my thoughts, my frequency, my belief system, what I know.
Right.
I heard a lady say one day about me. She said, "Oh, you can't have every woman. But every woman you want, you can have."
That's deep.
The thought that you saying that a woman is not available, the systems are not in the system. To understand that and what happened to her is for your studies and understand who she is and what happened to her. But when you change the way, this is metaphysically too, and we can prove it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. So when you speak, even the Bible says, speak those things that are not in word. And you can take any religion.
As a man thinketh, so he is.
Mentally. It is real and it is true. It sounds very simple, but it's profound, it's very simple. If you think a certain way, you can literally change your physical reality. That's true. And if you think that she's out there, she will be for good. That's true. But if I use terminology, how she is, it's going to be difficult. I understand the ratio, if you will. But you know, respect, I don't respect her.
Okay.
You got your baby on.
Right. No wonder brother don't look 60.
You don't look 60, you're
Exactly.
handsome. But if you telling her, you know what, you ain't gonna be able to get nothing I say, she ain't.
Like I said, I'm really
I know you're tired of looking, but you gotta think
I'm
things
not,
go
I'm
well.
not, I'm not looking. All I'm just saying is, I've done the thing that it's supposed to be. Consider, I've been through, like I said.
Now all you gotta do is say, thank you, Jesus. That's it. Wow, you ain't gonna say it, even though you know that it's symbolic to the Christ seed. Because listen, they got that information from us. They didn't create nothing.
I know they did, but they got a lot of systems in religion. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, I've tried all the stuff y'all been saying.
Religion means something to rely on. That's all. It's something to rely on. And we rely on the knowledge. We relying on stuff too. We relying on each other. We relying on candles. We relying on our altars. We relying on our ancestors. It's just a different stage to the same exact thing.
But even that your ancestors are important. And I keep saying that the average, let's say like average African, we don't set up the altars, the rituals, and all of that in more. A lot of us, we don't have like that teacher. Now, personally, I was process doing that before some other things like the came time. But at the same time, you know, my whole thinking is, for that to be effective, you have to have your twin flame, like I said, right there, you know, with you too.
You just gotta learn her language.
Like I said, to do that.
You just gotta learn her
And
language.
like he talked about, like the brother that he brought up first. See, language is the key. So this bastard language has killed our communication.
Which we all know.
Because this is not our original language. Now, see, if we were speaking the metadata, it wouldn't even be going this way because it's based on energy, frequency, and sound.
And that's what I'm getting ready to cover.
Right.
That's the last part of this before I get on.
We were in that language right there. I would have been in that in my class.
When you're trying to go from 0 to 100, you gotta get the 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you. All right, according to Dr. Robert O. Becker in his book, The Body Electric, the human body has an electrical frequency that's much about a person's health can be determined by it. Frequency is the measurement rate of electrical energy flow that is constant between any 2 points. In other words, correspondence or polarity. All right, everything has frequency. So Dr. Royal Reef found that every disease has a frequency. He has found that certain frequencies can prevent the development of disease and that others will destroy diseases. Continue on. So we found out that each organ, remember, you are a stardust being. Remember, 90% of your body is stardust. All right, so that means if you don't get enough hydrogen, which is also negative ions or prana energy, what happens to the body? It decreases in its way, magnetic properties. So that means that the hertz, which is the frequency of the body, decreases greatly. So guess what happens? Each part of your body oscillates at a particular frequency. So as you see here, the brain oscillate in different regions, delta, beta, alpha, beta, gamma, at different frequencies. Sexual organs at 80 hertz, heart at 7.4 hertz, liver at 4.6 hertz, and skin 2.5 megahertz, digestion 55 megahertz, All right, continue on. All right, so Dr. Bruce Lipton in his book, The Biology of Beliefs. This is what the brother was talking about. This is why I'm getting to this. See, this is how we all hear. Promotes that the idea that genes and DNA can be manipulated by a person's belief. A Russian biophysicist by the name of Petrov Jovajon research revealed that DNA can be reprogrammed by words and frequencies. DNA can be reprogrammed by words and frequencies, opening up a whole new arena in medicine. Now, they could have just asked the Sufis that, couldn't they? The experiment proved that one can use words and sentences to influence DNA. All right? This explains how the body can be programmed by language, words, and thoughts, indicating that the human language are actually a reflection of our DNA. So even if you say that English is a bastardized language, guess what? It still is a reflection of our DNA. The scientists also proved the use of frequencies can repair chromosomes damaged by reprogramming DNA. So the hurt that you expressed and it felt over the 400 years transition of allegedly coming from Africa or even from being enslaved here in the Americas, we're looking at a process that we all have to come from up under. All right? This is affecting us. And it says we can be reprogrammed. How can you reprogram DNA? It just gave you the answer. It says by using words and sentences to influence DNA.
It's environmental.
So,
it's environmental because they took the nucleus out.
Bingo.
And when they took the nucleus, put it in the petri dish, depending on what was in that petri dish, it took on that problem.
Took on that problem.
So Dr. Bruce Lipton realized that it wasn't the nucleus. It's environmental.
Exactly.
And your psychology is environmental.
Exactly. Exactly. And found that the genetic code follows the same rule as all our human languages. All right? So us learning Metrunetcha, which is the mother tongue of Semitic, Arabic, most of the languages in Africa, as well as also Hebrew, we're looking at Metrunetcha as a source, as a language that can actually tie. Do you know that actually some of the words that you speak in English is actually Metrunetcha? The word mother. The word mother is mut hair. Mut hair. The word mother is mut hair. M-U-T-H-E-R. How you spell mother? M-O-T-H-E-R. Is that a coincidence?
No.
That the word mut hair, which is talking about the mother aspect in ancient Kemet, is the same word as mother that you use now?
Uncle.
Uncle. Uncle. Ain't right.
Okay.
Right. The word look, father. The word father. F-A spell father. F-A-T-H-E-R. Ptah. Ptah-ra. P-T-A-H-R-E. Ptah-ra or Ptah-re is the word father. Because the F and the P is what? Interchangeable. So there's even words that they're using because, you know why? Because the ancient Egyptians was here in the Americas too. How you think you got 18 temples in the Grand Canyon? That's what? Based on what? Ancient Egyptian what? Metrunetcha and hieroglyphics. Based on the history of the ancient Egyptians. Right in the Arizona, in the Grand Canyon. There's 18 temples right now, right here. All right? Get the book Barry Ford, PhD from Harvard University. He wrote a book about the indigenous culture here in the Americas, showing you the connection between the languages and how we was already using Metrunetcha, Arabic, Hebrew, all these languages in the indigenous tribes right here. When Columbus sailed over here and he went to Isabella, which was called Cuba, named Isabella from Isabella and King Fernandez from out of Spain, Portugal, wherever it was over there, and came to Cuba, what is now called Cuba. You know why the word Cuba is from the word Kaaba? It's because when they first came, there was a mosque that they seen on top of the hill. And they said that the emperor met them at the shore, and guess what language he spoke? Arabic, Hebrew, and Chaldean. Now these supposed to be languages from out of where? from out of the Middle East, as they call it. Of course, like I'm sure crazy. It's the Middle East. It's got to be a Middle West. The middle. All right. So there's so that's what we're talking about. So these languages was already spoken here. Only thing that Albion did was come, and just like the African word, they say it was gooba, in which that we use for peanut. All right. Well, the word gooba is still used today in Beaufort, South Carolina. You go down to Beaufort, South Carolina, where my white people is from, on her father's side, they say gooba. They don't say peanut. Boy, go get them gooba. Gooba. The heck is a gooba? I thought, hold on, I used to eat goobas when I went to the movies. You remember the chocolate covered peanuts? That was goobas, right? But peanuts are called goobas. It's a West African term from out of Ghana. So there's a lot of words that have come into play here. Ancient Egyptian words as well as also Arabic words, not just Latin words, because remember they told you Latin was a dead language. They only use Latin really within law and medicine. But if you take law or medicine, you learn in Latin. All right, you learn in Latin, right, which is Moorish, actually. All right, coming from the Etruscans, who was the original so-called blacks in Rome or in Italy. If you go to Florence, right across from Florence is Tuscany. Tuscany is the area what they now refer to with the so-called original blacks, who the Etruscans used to live at in that area. You know, so there's a lot of information that we have to start solidifying. And Dr. Runoko Rashidi, he speaks about this. You know what I'm saying, in his writings. So people can verify all of this. All right, so I'm gonna continue on. Frequencies, the body frequencies, all these, which is nothing more your endocrine glands, we come to find out that the brain, normal frequency is 72 megahertz. The human body cycles at an average of 70 hertz. And the brain is at 72 hertz. All right. So right here, the human body is 78 megahertz. From the neck up is 72 to 78 megahertz. The human body from the neck down is 60 to 68 megahertz. The thyroid and parathyroid glands is 62 to 68 megahertz. Thymus gland is 65 to 68 megahertz. The heart is 67 to 70 megahertz. The lungs are 55 to 65 megahertz. The liver is 55 to 60 megahertz. The pancreas is 60 to 80 megahertz. Colds and flu starts at 57 to 60 megahertz. Disease starts at 58 megahertz. Candida growth, outgrowth, overgrowth starts at 55 megahertz. And death begins at 25 megahertz. So we are actually an electromagnetic cellular wave. All right, so death is a frequency. Even death is a frequency. And it starts at 25 megahertz. All right? As above, so below. As above, so below. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. You can talk to, say again. Right, right. Right. Have a frequency. Right.
So can I be alive and be beneficial of that? That's you got speaking version of that.
Yeah. Yes.
What I want to say is, again, I just said now, from my Cymatics study, I forget what role that it was, but the original, melanated humans were earth gods and goddesses.
Yep.
But as whatever this came in that messed it up, the spirit went down to gods and demigods, who were part human and part gods, and then from that point we went down to worshiping spirits of the dead, and then we came down to the state that we've been in as mortals. And so I believe that you covered 13 times. I don't know. But all I know, my understanding in age of Aquarius is spiritual enlightenment that leads to mortality.
Right.
Because the original Gnostics, this is what they were teaching. And we know that once you got your spiritual enlightenment, that that leaded to your immortality. So I guess the question is, now seeing that we in now, where we at now, that we should be manifesting the energy of the higher consciousness that's going to transform us back into God and God.
Well, this is what this shows right here is the various zodiac signs. Since 1997, there's a new sign that come into play, which is called Ophiuchus, which is the serpent wrestler. That sign sits between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Ophiuchus is now actually November the 29th to December the 17th. What is going on is that the more that it comes into play, actually is going to go eventually to 13 months and 28 days. So 13 times 28 is how many? Right, 364. All right, so hence an added day, hence they refer to as leap year, whatever they refer to it as, comes up to the 365 years again. However, it's going to be 13 months and only 28 days. So now we have Capricorn, January the 20th, February the 16th, Aquarius, February the 16th, March, I believe it's the 10th, Pisces on March the 11th through April the 18th, so that's March the 11th. April, Aries, April the 18th through May 13th. This is those who was born after 1997, all right? Taurus, May 13th through June 21st. Gemini, June 21st through July 20th. Cancer, July 20th through August the 10th. Leo, August the 10th, September the 16th. Virgo, September 16th through October the 30th. Libra, October the 30th through November 30th. 23rd, excuse me. Scorpio, November the 23rd.
To November the 29th.
Through the 29th. As you see, Ophiuchus, 29th through December the 17th. Sagittarius through December the 17th through January the 20th. Of course, most of your signs are here would have changed if you was born in 1997. But this is what this is all symbolic to. All right. Aries is the ram, so is Amen. Amen symbol is what? The ram. All right. Within the Bible, that is Gad, which is within the Old Testament, one of the 12 sons of Israel. Which means what? Israel means to ascend to God. All right. So Serapis is the bull, which is Taurus. Also Set, which is Simeon and Levi, which is Gemini, the twins. Kepra, which is Cancer, is Crab, which is the dung beetle. Atum, which is Judah. Leo, Lion, the Lion of Judah. All right. Set is Dinah, Virgo, the Virgin. Mayat, Set, Libra, the scales. Dan, Scorpio, Scorpion, Snake, and Eagle. All right. There's 3 symbols for Scorpio. One in the lower nature, mid, and the upper nature. All right. Or lower dantian, mid dantian, and upper dantian, called the upper room. Shu, which is Joseph, the archer, bow and arrow. Set, Mendes, which is Nephilim. Capricorn, which is goat. 11, Heru, Reuben. Aquarius, man with the pitcher of water. 12 is Sebek, which is Zebulon. Pisces, the fish, also similar to the crocodile, which is Zebek. And then the 13th symbol, which is Ophiuchus, which actually is Imhotep, who is the only real living being who actually exists out of this scenario of astrology. He existed during the 3rd dynastic period with Zoser or Dozer, who was the pharaoh or Nagu during that time reign of the 3rd dynastic period. And Imhotep was his prime visor, which is basically the equivalent to the Pope today. You know, was a major brother. And Ophiuchus is the serpent wrestler. We know that Imhotep formed what? The caduceus, which is the hospital symbol, which is on the hospitals, as well as also the symbol that is on the staff, the serpent, which is on the ambulances throughout the world, which also symbolizes that same serpent wrestler connection. So Ophiuchus actually is the Greek terminology for Imhotep, who is the ancient Cymatics who actually lived. He's the only living being. He was the first Messiah that everybody is really talking about. If you get the book by Mustafa Galadeh from out of Egypt, he wrote a book about Tutankhamun, Tut-Amen. And he writes a book speaking about how he, Tut-Amen, which is Tutankhamun, actually was the Messiah in which that the Jews took in order to perpetuate a Messiah coming, which later becomes the story in the New Testament up under the Nicene Council in 325 AD, where the 318 said bishops weren't excommunicated, who was Arian, who put forth this Serapis character, you know what I'm saying, who was nothing but Saw to begin with, a form of Saw, which is his rule, which that gets to that right there. All right. All right, time is out, but before we go, this is the pineal gland, how it looks. Dr. Frank Bard theory states matter is shaped and structured by light. These molecular melanin combinations eat light. Remember, you're a light vampire, remember? This is what Wesley Snipes was showing you as a day walker on the movie, what? Blade. All right? These melanin molecules combinations eat light in order to maintain, expand, and evolve matter. The more highly evolved a species, the more complex its biological capacity to use light. Remember, 300,000 tons of stardust energy fall to the planet Earth daily. You're supposed to absorb your share. All right? This is just some more. This is the pineal gland, which is the actual eye that has 144,000 magnetic crystalline quartz diamond sand-like particles on it. All right? This third eye also oscillates at a rate of 144 hertz. The ancients taught that there are 144 chakras. The crown chakra is said to be 1,000 times more powerful than the lowest 6 chakras. So when you add up the lowest chakras, 6 chakras, you get 4, 6, 10, 12, 16, 96 equals 144. Then you times 144 times 1,000, you get 144,000. So this is how you get Book of Revelation. Exactly. That's what that is talking about. All right. This is your pineal gland on fluoride. All right, that's how that looks. You see that calcification? That's how calcification. That's how your pineal looks when you get calcified. All right, I'm going through this quickly. Right here, these are the sounds that we was talking about. Right, this is sounds of healing. This is the last thing I'm gonna drop before we got to go here. The crown chakra is violet, which is this based on the B note, which is the I sound. Right, right. And that's the I sound. You're being tuned to the crown chakra frequency.
And what you do is you visualize energy coming in.
Right. Then you have the third eye, which is indigo. The A music note, which is the E sound. E. Then you have the throat chakra, the blue color, which is the G note, and is the A sound. A. Then you have the heart sound, which is green. The F note, which is ah sound. The solar plexus, which is yellow, all right, which is the E musical note. And there's actually several for the liver is sh. For the solar plexus is the H-A-H sound, all right? And then for the kidneys, you how to shake that negative debris from off of your organs internally. Remember, we told you that chemicals end up, when you feel a certain chemical, fear. It goes to the kidneys, emotional problems, right? Remember, depression to the lungs, rejection to the genitals, stress to the brain. So what sounds do you use in order to remove that? I'm telling you right now, these are the frequencies. You get this? I got this. I got to leave you with some healing shit before we go. All right, so here, navel and sacral, which is orange, the D note, which is O. Oh, when you was a child, you just go to your mom, you had a stomach ache, you like, oh.
you already instinctively knew the old sound would heal you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Are you feeling it? Yeah, I know. That's the whole point.
But it is more powerful
Right. When you do it, because your voice is the most recognized. Your voice is the most recognized entity to your body. Your own voice. All right. But yes, it works also if somebody else does it, just like me doing. The last one is the base root chakra, which is red. The C note, which is you. So now think about it. Now Muslims say Allah, 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 Allah. What sound you think is being activated? Which is the high, exactly. Remember, where's Allah at? The closest place you can meet Allah is where?
Your jugular.
In the heart. He's closer to you than your jugular vein. You see what just happened? This is all these sounds is doing, is helping you tune into the particular frequencies. Oh, you don't want to say Allah? Ain't your Cymatics brother? Guess what you say?
If you're a Christian, you say hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah. You say, you don't want to say be like the Buddhists, you know what I'm saying, or the Hindus. But guess what? You can say Amen. Same thing. Same thing. You see how they get tripped up on this? It's all the same. It's frequency. It's frequency. All right, I'm finished, y'all. Peace. We out.
All right, we out.
Oh, yes, questions.
Oh, no, I
Oh, come on.
I just had a statement I was going to
Please say it.
talking about a woman, him being attracted to a woman, not, you know.
Who's not conscious?
Yeah, this woman. My husband led me.
Okay. Okay.
So he taught me. I was brought up in a Christian family.
Right.
Church,
Yeah, oh, yeah, we all did. We all did. I was there every Sunday. I'm telling you.
when we brought the information,
I ran the church.
it awakened me. God is power.
Mhm.
My God is like power.
Right.
And I was just gonna say that you may not meet a person who is already
There.
conscious.
Right.
You may have to lead her.
Right.
Like
Right.
a lot of men have led women to Christianity. So that's all I'm saying.
That's what it is.
That's
Go
true.
ahead, guys.
That's
Thank you for
right.
that.
That's right.
Thank you for that.
That's right. That's
But
right.
she trusts him and loved him.
Right, brother.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Brother got
Uh-huh. She said, which CD this on? Science of Breath.
yeah.
This is the last one too, guys. They 10.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, your pen ain't got
That's
it.
the last one. Today's presentation right now. You just dropped it.
Yeah.
This is the last one. What?
Huh?
This is the last one of today's presentation.
Okay, the goddess will have today's presentation. Sister Francis, she wanted to know what
Yeah, I know she
information.
did.
She wanted to know what information that this was on, and I was telling her it's on this one, Divine Science of Breath. I think the brother took some out there on the table. Thank you, God. It's made multiply by the billion.
Yeah, that's called divine science.
Of breath.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So I'm here on behalf of the Act to Change. It was started 18 years ago by Esther Deli. We have this space, and this is actually, I'm gonna say, during the day we have two homeschool co-ops. Back here you have New Cat. You want to say their name? But it's more of the older kids, secondary, and then up front we have primary school, Dodgeneia. The doors open, we do ask for donations. So if you find it in your heart to give, we do find it grateful. I do have a basket, I'll leave it up front. And I do thank y'all, like I say, Act to Change, our next big event that we have coming up, November 19th, we have what's called Celebration of Blackness. It'll be an all-day event starting at 8 a.m. with morning yoga, leading all the way into the night. We will party all the way until sunrise if we get to.
Can't just take it and pass like at the church.
I thank y'all all for your energy. If you want to know more about the After Change, you can find me. I love to answer your questions. We want to thank the lecturer for this evening. And one last time.
We're so proud of y'all.
Thank you.
How you doing it?
All right, thank the brother for having us. Thank the goddess. Where she at?
Francis.
Oh, there she is. You go. Thank the goddess Francis for bringing this out, making this possible. We appreciate each and every one of y'all
For
and
coming
making this
out.
y'all again. I'm serious.
We are so proud of y'all for cultivating the minds of the youth. Y'all doing a beautiful thing. What you think about the lecture, brother?
It was a nice time. Had to rush here from work, but I made it.
I'm so glad. We go around here, everybody. What you thought of the lecture, brother?
I love it. It's an extension. I had to be here. It's an extension of my life. The most beautiful thing that has happened to me. The second most beautiful thing in comparison to his brother, who told me about him. Brother Pranic told me about him.
Oh.
And Brother Pranic said if he could be here, he would be. And I would listen to him. And
We
Dr.
love
Alim
him.
is a beautiful person, wonderful, smooth. He's a good energy. I love him. You know, I get excited just to know that I was here with him.
Well, I'm
I had a
glad you
good
came,
time.
brother, and I'm so
Good
glad
time.
you added on too.
Well,
We appreciate you.
Well, he's a beautiful guy. I listen to him on YouTube. He's very, very, very calm. He explains it very, very well. He's a beautiful brother.
He
He's a very
really is.
beautiful brother.
I
He
can
really
definitely
is.
agree to that.
I enjoy him, and I wish that I could see more of him, you know, other than YouTube. You know, but he does have a Wednesday on,
Blog Talk.
Blog Talk.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to him on the way in. Beautiful brother. He's from New York. I'm familiar. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, he's a beautiful brother. I mean, his
You are
energy
too,
is-
brother.
His energy here is really helping this city out a lot. But I tell you what, I almost got frustrated because I couldn't find it. I was here, but I found out by accident.
Oh, good.
But I can't explain it.
The ancestors. And the spirit.
I was listening to, because I happen to say, Brother Pranic speaks very highly of him.
We love him too.
And I was listening to Brother Pranic because I saw him when he was here. And I don't know what happened to 15 minutes, but I remember going back and touching the counter on Pandemonium Radio, and it went right to Dallas. And I said, "He coming back to Dallas?" And he said, and he spent about 10 minutes talking about if he could be here.
Wow.
He spoke at least about 10 minutes. If he could be here, he would be here. And he said, when he get there, he said, Dr. Alim is from the old circuit. He's going to have slides. He's going to have this. He's going to have that. And so I already knew about him, but I listened to Brother Pranic. When he was telling me about him, he was excited about that. And I was excited about him. So now, but I always knew about the brother. But he said everything the brother said that he would be and more.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I came.
Sister, what y'all thought about the lecture? Come on, guys. We got to speak up. Come on. Oh, you're so beautiful. Look how pretty she is. Y'all see how she got it
It was so informative. I'm excited that I came. Had told me about it, so I had to make sure that I made my way.
I'm so glad you said something. Brother, what you hold this? What you thought about the lecture?
Great lecture. Because of Dr. Alim, I have my daughter at home. Okay? More science is real.
Okay, can I ask somebody else about it? Ask her.
All right. They want you. They want you your input on the lecture. This
Hello,
is.
family. The lecture was great. Learned some new information. Peace.
Thank
You want me out?
Mm-hmm.
Is he like my brother? You know about Gano Gill? Gano Grill?
Brother Panic is different. Brother
It's
Panic
some of the
is
same stuff.
he's different.
Gano Gill, you know what I'm
I
talking about?
didn't use this.
Well, that brother, I can think is right before you talking about recently before they moved.
Well, yeah, I would know that's right.
Yeah, I'm talking about Dr. Lamont. Yeah, well, he was over. He did a lecture at the Dr. bookstore, and then I think they asked him to come in. They asked him to come over.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that.
See, that's what I say. He's very powerful.
You get anybody else?
Yeah, I got her.
Okay.
I don't think.
Oh, thank you too.
No, my daughter's at home. You CPS.
Okay, I remember you. Okay, did y'all hear that? He said his daughter is at home.
Right now.
CPS trying to steal that baby. Oh, okay.
Because of more science.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? He did it. All we was like, brother, you know you can do it. And he was like, you know what? I think I can do it. I think I
Questions I
can.
needed, they gave me answers. Well, they gave me the way to get my own answers.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. I really do.
You welcome, God, and I'm so glad she's home.
Yes.
So she's supposed to be with you. She would have came through you.
Yes.
Word, God. We love you too. I'm so glad you came. Guys, I got to get you. Yes, girl, you looking all cute with your shoulders out and the hair. Yeah, throw it to the front.
Hi, Olivia.
What did you think about the lecture,
It was
Olivia?
wonderful.
Wasn't
I
it?
enjoyed it.
So what was you saying about the tingling? What's going on with you?
No, that
Oh,
was
cute.
my mother.
That was your mother?
She has the ringing in her ears. I want to say it was the crown chakra.
Who's your mom?
With the crown.
Oh, okay. So, Goddess, would you to have anybody else come to a lecture like this?
Of course. I would recommend to have more to take a lecture like this.
Why?
Is this live?
Yeah. You looking all cute. Look at this. You looking good, girl.
Thank you.
So why?
It was very informative.
Okay. Well, I am so glad. I know you ain't want to do this, but we really need to speak out more as women, especially you that grew up in this. You got a lot of information within you. You know, you might be shy, but you know what you're doing. Okay,
thank you.
I look forward to seeing more things from you. I can't wait to see you lecture. Because I feel like when the women stand up, it's going to bring the Caucasian man down.
Right.
Because we're the opposite of them. So when we rise, you know, they're going to be bold. Okay. So I can't wait. Thank you. Okay, let me see. Look at this beautiful family. I know how y'all got your head wrapped. So what did y'all think of the lecture?
Well, it was really good. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, insightful about things that we needed to know. And so I mean, I like the energy, and I love his presentation of everything he explained.
It just got like awakened. It awakened my consciousness, and just the knowledge gave me energy. It energized me.
Yeah, it confirmed everything that we were studying about.
Okay.
And a lot of things I did. Some things I studied, but he gave me further study on it, clarification on it. And I mean, it just energized me.
I am so excited, Goddess. So does that mean that you'll also be able to get in front of the camera more and teach the culture in which you've embodied? Because you are so inspiring. Your look is so inspiring, and it's beautiful. Now, little Goddess, I saw you get some rest. Did you have a dream? You didn't have no dream? Well, what did you think of the lecture? It was good. Well, I am so glad you liked it.
Yeah. And my coach is inspired by. I'm in a group called TLC. It's also a more community as well as TLC.
Yes, a nation of Morris. Of like-minded individuals. I mean, that's coming back into the natural way of doing things, in the natural culture, in the natural jurisprudence and teachings of history and law.
On the website, though. Yeah. It's an interaction of culture and what? I'm sorry.
culture, history, and coming back into like the natural way of doing things, and coming back into like the avenue of our ancient forefathers and foremothers, and that is TLC, which is 13 love community, which is 13, which is death to the old and rebirth to the new, and like when and more and freedom and justice, which is the 5 principles, and that's the 13 love community, which is a nation or a body of people of like minds.
That's a nice shirt, brother. Where you get that shirt from?
Oh, I got this from claritydaily.org.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my brother, like that live in the Bay Area in California, Khalid.
So how can people find more information about TLC? Do y'all have a website?
Yeah, Google Plus.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Go on Google Plus and just under the communities, just search 13 Love. TLC 13 Love Community, and it'll be like a black logo. It'll be like it'll be a black logo that looks similar to.
I love technology, y'all. Cause y'all gonna be able to know exactly what it looks like.
Similar to that logo.
Similar to that.
Yeah, similar to that logo.
In the
13,
background.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, family. Appreciate y'all. Okay, guys, it's 10. Thank y'all so much. You know, mama. Okay. I sure do. Okay.
And your husband is a great teacher. When he teaches, he make it easier. Yeah, he make it clearer so we can understand it. You know, and that's what I need. That's a lot. We can break it down where we can understand it.
Oh yeah, how much is this?
That's 10, guys. Oh.
What?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Look at this, Melanin Economics. I'm so glad y'all came too, because the goddess was thinking that she was gonna have to cancel it, but y'all was like, y'all just came. And I'm like, yeah. Hold on, brother, I want to get you on here. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for y'all.
I hope y'all
So
come back because
please.
the knowledge was profound.
Yes. Yep, and I hope y'all enjoy Texas. The energy of Texas or T-House.
Okay, T-House.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for the well wishes, and we will definitely do our best to enjoy it.
Yes.
Thank you, y'all. Please.
Yes. Back at y'all temple at home, I got a CD.
Okay, you got a CD?
Mm-hmm.
Brother, what do you think of the lecture?
Like I said, overall, the lecture I can say was excellent because, like I said, I much studied, and I studied a lot of Dr. Alim El-Bey stuff, through the YouTube and stuff. And then I saw when he did the debate with Sarah Sugan, and I told him I, think that he won because that's what we need to be focusing. I could say.
Well, you think he won too, brother?
Be focused on right now because by us being the age of Aquarius now, it's spiritual enlightenment that leads to mortality. And that's why I'm saying the original Trinity was the Father, the Mother, and the Son. And so what I'm saying is that the Caucasians had to create God and religion after they separate us, because in reality, we're getting ready to transform back into earth God and God of the fifth dimension, because the portals of the fifth dimension are going to start to open up in 2017 real heavy.
That's true.
So 2016 is
but it's going to be in our favor, though. 2016 been whooping people behind.
Exactly.
But the 2017 going to be in our
new
favor.
cycle is in.
Yes, our cycle.
2016 is a 9. You know this as a woman.
Yes. Yeah.
9 is in the cycle.
Oh, okay.
So they ain't gonna know what to do, and that's why that when y'all talk about when y'all
okay, thank you, God.
When y'all
looking like Mike Tyson. You do, don't he look like Mike Tyson, y'all? You know he look like Mike Tyson.
So
they from the same planet.
Right. So what I'm saying is that it's critical.
Yeah.
That's the point that I was making.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shouldn't have took me this long. So I mainly, like I told you, I'm self-taught.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't really have grandmother, grandfather teach me this or father and stuff like this, because in each family you have one that's chosen to say, I'm a spiritual warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that all of us, we went through the same thing. But now we're in a critical time. So that's why I say that. So it was good because your husband was one of the few, like I said, that I'm talking about the importance of the 13th sign. Because once you manifest once you manifest that energy.
Look at this beautiful woman. Sorry, brother, we're gonna go right back to you. Look at this beautiful woman right here. Ain't she cute?
Thank you, Lady Bay, for coming.
Peace,
We
guys.
enjoyed it.
And thank you too for your add-on. It was perfect.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And melanated
I'm trying
power.
to finish because
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to, that's why, because when you deal with spiritual stuff, you don't want to be cut off.
Yeah, that's true.
But what I'm saying is that this is what we should be doing. He covered, like I said, all of it. Because
he showed did.
Because those signs, those sisters and brothers of 13 sign are on the earth. But that's why I was saying that this is what the reptilians been hiding, because they don't have power over the serpent god, the serpent goddess. And when Dr. Ben came here, this elder came here about 15 years ago, 10-15 years ago, and he said, you can't be a god without a goddess, or you can't be a goddess without a god. See, that's all I'm saying. And that's why when we study any ancient spirituals, whether it be the Hebrew, whether it be Cymatics, whether it be the Taoists in India, the male and female energy has to come together, it has to be created to create the one.
Yes, sir.
That's all I'm saying. Let me know
when your birthday, brother?
May 13th.
Okay, Taurus. Appreciate you. Did I get your thing? Okay, I need you to fill out this information. So what did you think about the lecture?
It was great.
Your thumbs up?
It, yeah.
Would you ask anybody else to come next time? What's your address? Would you put it on?
Yeah, I would, most definitely.
You on camera though.
Okay.
I'm gonna get everybody. Okay.
My picture.
Long time, man. About 5 years.
I am too.
Yeah, see, I don't want to get into all of that. You know what I'm saying? So I just say, okay, I'm just going to stay, because if I do as Bobby did immigrant too. If I did something like that, you know what I'm saying? I would go into details. You know what I'm saying? I have to do a whole video. And I would just
you need it, brother?
Right.
Okay, hold it.
That would have been a Bobby one.
Okay, that's lame.
Yeah. 8 hours straight. Y'all all right?
Okay, let me take this off. I don't need this. Okay.
That's gonna be apartments. So I'm gonna take that.
Oh yeah. Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
And what's your email address? One.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They're from our lower end.
And that way you get an email
So
invoice.
their whole thing is based on fear. This is why they love establishing fear throughout society. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's a frequency. And so they love to keep you at the kidney level. This is why you notice so many black folks are on dialysis now because of the kidney problems because of fear. Because they got inundated with that nonsense that's going on here in the world. You know, perpetuated by the Europeans.
Illuminati,
right, the Illuminati, right, and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But we can go beyond that. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff is, low stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's low magic. You know, with real magic, you don't even need the jammer frequency. Low magic, you have the jammer frequency in order to try to change it.
I ain't going through, God. Can I text you the link and you do it later? I trust you. You trust me?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your email? Again, oh yeah.
Okay.
I already got you in there. We communicate before.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Oh, okay.
Right. You know, imagine. For us, negative
Brother, we
energy
really appreciate your support. And I'm so glad y'all came out. Okay, so here go the link.
Shift that.
Okay.
I'm using her.
Right. Right. I got you. Well, I figured out what you were saying.
So it'll work.
Okay.
And we'll talk to each other and communicate.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, y'all ain't signed.
No, not yet.
Okay. I want to get a picture.
You don't mind it?
No, I don't mind that at all. Shoot, I appreciate y'all. No, I feel like we brothers and sisters.
You want to find a way.
I need to ask. We're going to do an interview with you too.
Wherever it leads me. Wherever it leads me.
Right. I just want to get
Wherever it leads me. It's going to lead me back to the church. You always say that.
Take 4 pictures.
Let me get a picture, bro. I gotta get a picture, man. Doc, man, I appreciate you so much, Doc, man.
Oh, my baby, love some pictures. She loves some pictures. Profile and style.
Yes,
God,
Oh my
I
God,
appreciate
I gotta
you
get
so
it
much,
on
man.
it. Just press the camera, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Got us doing it.
That's cool, that's cool.
Oh, okay, right.
All right, thank you, man.
I appreciate you. I sure will. I'll be contacting you some more.
Okay.
So you've been trying to get me to call you for so long, and I just be like, but they don't got time for little old me.
Oh yes, she do. She'll talk to you for hours.
He be busy all the time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put him on Facebook.
I know you.
I be busy, but guess what? I'll talk too.
And my name is Purple.
Shoot, sometimes I be like, shoot, I need a break. Let me talk to you.
Yes, you follow.
I was listening to Pandemonium Radio, and I don't know how I navigated to that part because I had left the room. And Brother Pranic took about 10 minutes. He said, I wish I could be there because he mentioned Dallas. So he was just here. So he took took about 10 minutes. I'm telling you, he took about 10 minutes, and he just took us through what he called the lecture circuit, where you come from. He said, so when you get there, this is what you're going to see. So you're going to see graphics. And when he finished building it out, he was like, oh man, I wish that I could be there. I wish that I could be there. And he was all you niggas that ain't but that's my man though. But I was listening, right. And I heard him say Dallas. I left the room and I came back. I don't know what happened that 10 minutes, but it was Tuesday. And he said, I know this is really short. Right. Took me a vacation time, but I found that my brother. I didn't know. So I wonder. I need to find out how to get on her like use better. She does a lot of things. She was Panic. She was Panic. But that's how I found out through Panic. He could gas you. But that brother really, he admires you a lot. He really appreciates you. He said, you think it was
yeah, well, me and David know each other for like almost 13 years. So, you know, we connected from the beginning. You know, he actually was in like one of my first lectures. The lecture that brother was talking about, the one that I did on the Sherman Hills. You know what I'm saying, that the brother was talking about, that got him into it. I did another lecture that same time. It was called Brothers Gonna Work It Out. And Panic was in that lecture with me. Yeah. We were all sitting like in the little round table. Panic was right here, I'm right here, another brother right here. We had like a room full of brothers and we were just going through information.
When he talk about you, man, he don't just hit it. He talk, he explains where you come from. He talks about your lecture circuit. He said he's like Bobby, man. You want to see this? So I said, wow. He said because he's from the lecture circuit, which is kind of different from he's cool. But when he came, he did it. Him and his wife did the whole thing. But he was just basically saying when you come in, you're gonna be in class. Right. But it was like I stumbled upon it. It was like wow.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's all good. I'm glad I did. I took a vacation day.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I took off.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
But I need your help.
So the plane that you deal with in the afterlife, that's different than just dimensions, correct? It's two different kind of issues going on there, right?
No, it's the same.
It's the same, okay.
Yeah. The dimensions is based on the phantom bodies, as I was talking about, which is your physical body dies, but the three other bodies die along with the physical body, and only the Aku
the ka and the ba exist.
Okay.
All right, so you lose your discriminative body, which is the four lowest chakras.
No.
Oh,
Three
the four
high.
devils, but the three, which is your holy trinity body, Ku, which is the glorified light body, the ka, which is the spiritual body, and the ba, which is the soul body. Those three survive death. And it's like an egg or orb. So when you see like orbs around people, those are ancestors.
So you said the ka,
the ku, the ka, and the ba.
Now which one is the ba? The ka and the ba?
The ka ba, right?
Now you know what that thing called,
right?
The ka ba,
Right.
and that's
This is it too.
the ka ba.
This is
They don't want that's it. The ka ba right here. And that's what the community needs to know about the Black man.
But isn't that representative of what you just was saying?
I'm glad you know about this place.
Because that's what they call it, the ka ba.
They call it.
The ka ba, and you know when they make circles around, and they do their hajj. But you was explaining how would that relate to our bodies?
Right. This is where I'm from.
We're here. I was one of the founders down there. Okay. This is the difference, but we're homeschooled. Yeah,
Right.
we're probably going to end up going into one. So, you know, we're just brand new at this, so we're just kind of trying to fill it out.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, this is one of the teachers of this
I'm not a
homeschool.
teacher.
Explain to what you do, honey.
What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just have a heart for the community, but I'm one of the founders of Dajania Homeschool.
Okay.
And we meet here in the Active Change. The younger students meet in the front, and then Nefer is a homeschool here in the back. So if you're all looking for African-centered education,
Here in
here at
Dallas.
the Active Change, 3200 Lancaster, we're here every day. Yeah, we're here every day.
And later we're gonna take a view. We're gonna take a tour of this space so you can see. Because there's some people in here that did not pay for the live streams, and we know how we are. We like to share and give, but we need to make sure we also forward that sharing and giving, because we're glad that you're here. But we need to make sure that we're sharing and giving it also to the school because they need it. That's why we did it like this. So I'll put the link in the box and all of that too, so y'all have it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give it y'all. I can't believe that.
Okay.
Because all the traveling, so
Oh, and you see how the way God has been cooking that stuff? What you want pineapple?
Y'all didn't eat the food. That food was good, y'all. I don't know what. I ain't never ate that before.
Shout out to Chef K. She comes through for me all the time. I call her at the last minute Friday, and she's like, "I'll whip something together for you. It'll be a couscous, warm salad, and some pizza." It was off the chain.
It was
She always
delicious.
puts me up. So, Chef K. Chef K. Shout out to Chef K.
Shout out to Chef K. What's her number? Well, look, you're gonna have to call Sister.
If you want to get in contact with Chef K, just give me a call and I'll forward the information on her. I don't want to give her number out, but she is off the chain.
She is off the chain. What you thought of that food, guys?
That food was awesome. It was filling. It was nourishing. It was tasty. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chef K. We appreciate you. I'm gonna try to mimic that.
I know that's right. I'm definitely gonna do that. I am inspired by that little couscous with pineapple. Did she fry the pineapple? I think she baked the pineapples.
There's one more somebody needs to get. There's one more left.
Guys, y'all make sure y'all take that last one.
What's that stuff I made? Not couscous, but I just said it. Quinoa.
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 That is quinoa. I'm sorry,
that is
quinoa.
Okay.
It looks like it's like a little whatever.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yeah, that was awesome. It was really delicious.
I'm loving it. I thank you guys for coming out. I really enjoyed the lecture. It was a very powerful lecture. You missed it. The manifestation of God energy, the lecture was off the chain. He dropped a lot of science. A lot of science. You will walk away from these lectures being able to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's so cool about this lecture.
Mm-hmm. Well said, guys. And he's still over there dropping signs, so I'm gonna let y'all go over there before we do the tour.
That is it. That's the will of the cloud. That is it.
That wheel.
Yeah, this is it.
It looks just like
It's called a new beetle.
Yes, sir.
Malachi
But it's like it's
new
called
beetle
cloud.
or the nebula.
A pillar of fire right there in the cloud right now.
And that's it. That's it. That's right. That's hovering in your brain right now. That's in your brain right now. And so when the Kundalini comes up, this is what it's called. Beam me up, Scotty. When you be seen on Star Trek, when they send down a pulse beam, which is what? You see how they pick up that electron emissions? All that is electrons that they picking up, and you notice that. Right? This is the same thing that happens as you go up into your shit.
So check this out. So
yeah.
Right here and now, what you are offering, those are offering to us as a people, to be able to access while you are here.
Right here.
You can go there. You can access this.
Right. The kingdom of God is within you.
Make this life somewhat meaningful after you transcend it, because it's really nothing.
Right.
But while you're here to give human purpose,
right. And to give
you can access these worlds.
Right.
In 2016,
That's
17,
right.
18.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
4 years. And I've been, really? Brother May is good with her kids.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the man. That's the man right there.
Speaking about the moment concept of burning, that should be seen
Who's this? That's me. Oh, that's you too? Oh, that's you. Okay.
You got fingers, right? This came to me, right? This is a thought that came to me teaching my students, right? I implement whatever I can, math, science, right? So it just came to me. And I said, you know what?
If I also tell you that it was one of my shadow bodies which you were not connected to.
There's no coincidence.
And that's all he told me. Just tell him that. And that's all I got from
that is the holies
when
of
I went
holies.
before my altar and whatnot.
You're talking about the sound as a tip. There's no coincidence.
Yeah, it's one of my shadow bodies.
Right.
Temple is nothing but a picture of your diaphragm.
That taught me that I needed.
Because you can live without your legs, you can live without that. However, life in this position, I'm entering the gate to this place, offer, natures, and you have the
I'm so getting emotional now. I see y'all.
Going up. Right, and that makes sense because Prophet Muhammad is said to have gone into the 7 heavens. What do you think the 7 heavens are? The 7 heavens are your 7 chakras. And then when he got to the highest, he said he seen God face to face, or Allah. He was able to meet with Allah. Michael left, and Prophet Muhammad was there talking with Allah, and Allah told him, can you get them to pray 100 times? He's like, hell no. How about 50? Hell no. 20? Hell no. 10? You're getting closer, nigga. 7? 5. Right. Yeah, we might be able to do 5. So it tells you the whole sequence of numbers. And then, but it's based on him resurrecting through the 7 chakras, and he was on an animal called the Baruch, which means white lightning. When you break it down into Arabic, the word Baruch means white lightning. Now, it's the same thing within the Greek tales of Mercury. Mercury was known as white lightning. Jesus on his horse, it was white. A flying horse. The Greek tale is even in your Bible. In the book of Revelation, it says that Jesus will come out of a cloud on a horse, on a white horse. That's Pegasus. That's the same shit that's in right. So that white horse scenario is talking about the hippocampus area of the brain. Where hippocampus, guess what it means? White horse.
But not so much white, but the illumination. The illumination.
Right, but there's a gland in that area that gave you psychic abilities. It's called the barytheric gland. And that gland gave you all types of abilities for psychic advancement. And it was in a hippocampus area, which means white horse when you break it down into the Latin.
I think what are some of the ways, breath is one, but is nutrition, what are some of the ways that you can bring in more hydrogen? from our reality to our
The sounds of healing, like we said.
Sound.
Right. Remember, most of those sounds that we did, those was vowels. All right, check this out. Every other letter, besides for A-E-I-O-U-Y, are called what? Consonants. The word consonant is reminiscent to the word constant, right? Because they have the same root. The word constant means what? It means that which remains the same. So there is no change frequency in consonants. The change frequency comes in the vowels. The vowels create the changes in the words. So when we did the sounds of healing just now, notice that I did all what? All vowels. Remember the song? Remember the song back in the 80s? A-E-I-O-U, U, and sometimes Y, A-E. Yeah, the breath. Remember the breath techniques I talked about earlier, expanding your auric field? Yes. Right, those are it. Right, that's accessing the higher realms. Yup. Yo, peace, God. What's your name, man? Terrence?
Yeah.
All right.
So what you got for me? Teas or something I can start drinking or what?
Yeah, I ain't got nothing here.
I'm just saying like something I can probably purchase.
Yeah. We got the
I'm saying hard for my issue that I'm dealing with, like something that.
Right. I got the herbal blend of guatacola, ginkgo,
ginseng.
Yup. Those three in combination basically heals everything.
Okay.
Yup. And that's Terrence, T-E-R-R-A-N-C-E.
So what else can I actually do to? Because like it is usually happening at night, like when I sleep, or like my dreams will be something negative, or like I can something. I always wake up at 3 o'clock at the same time.
That's your lungs.
Okay.
If you wake up between 3 and 5 in the mornings, that's your lungs. So right. So you can use mullein, the herb mullein,
okay,
and cayenne pepper,
okay,
but in particular mullein and osha root.
Okay.
It helps to deal with the lungs. There's some type of depression or some type of something that you were disappointed about, in which that is going on with
but
the lungs.
It's almost like when it's almost like it's a form of an attack because my breath is actually thrown out. Like I can feel something like coming in me, like, and then it'll throw me off, and that doesn't cause me to actually wake up.
Right. So before you go to sleep, you have to say a prayer.
Okay.
All right. So you have to say something like, you have to say something like the Lord's Prayer or the 23rd Psalm.
Okay.
Something, you know what I'm saying, or even in Arabic, Al-Fatiha or something. You have to say some type of prayer, for which that will help you right before you go to sleep in your mind. Right, Al-Fatiha, right. You can say that in your mind right before you go to sleep, and that should stop after 7 days. If you do it 7 days, all right, it will stop after 7 days. And I've done a video actually on it. I've never put it, I did it on the website. It's called Sound. It's called Light, Thought, Color, and Sound. Okay. That's what it's called. Thought, Light, Color, and Sound.
Okay.
So I actually did do what you was talking about, actual video on negativity and what you can do against negative things like that. And I'll go over all that information in that DVD. Okay. So if you get on the computer and go to my website and just look up Thought, Light, Color, and Sound, that's the DVD that you can need.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, it was crazy because I had noticed that my shoes was, I was telling like they stole my shoes, and then when I started looking, I know your feet carry a lot of energy. So I'm like,
That's true. I'm about to send you the link. Y'all hold on, I'm about to send this link. The link y'all all got.
That's still over my head.
I hope they came to God.
You still got it?
my direction.
You can put it on your body and it'll help to balance your chakras. Of your chakras.
About which one you saying 7 times?
Yeah.
Which one you want? Which one you want? I go get it. I got it. Which one you want?
No, not the pyramid.
The other one. The stones.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your email address?
Jackson.
Or something involved with that change.
DJAMEL.
So right now, since you're not,
DJA.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, and back to the live show.